Always make sure the lenses look clean. We are live.
Oh, gotcha.
Good morning, everyone. I am also trying to get my Instagram set up. I guess I can hold this one because I want Lisa in the camera. Lisa's here. She's gonna be a super big fucking help for me today because I've decided to take my whole pattern apart and re-sew it all back together again so that it can look prettier. So if you're joining us on TikTok and Instagram, welcome. Thank you for being here. We are going to do a pattern making tutorial today, the best we can. I've already made the patterns, but I'm going to kind of demonstrate how I did it. I'm going to show you what I ended up with. We're going to sew it all together and serge it, and then we're going to attack a very tricky curvature on a chair.
Shapes.
The first time you do it, it'll be the very bane of your existence. So I'm going to show you how I cope with this stress today, and you'll probably get to experience my own personal imposter syndrome because
we all have it. Don't think you don't.
That's what we're here to do today. So Lisa's going to help me. She's going to help me by filming. She's going to monitor all of the comments coming through and try to answer them. The thing is that one of these lives is going to be stationary sometimes, and one of them is going to be the one moving. So you can log into both Instagram and TikTok to get both views. One of them will be showing me. The other one will be on my hands, showing you what exactly it is I'm doing. So I suggest you log into both of them because you're going to get a lot more out of the experience that way. Both of these recordings will be available on the live replay on YouTube later on this evening, hopefully, if I can get to it, but definitely sometime this week. So if you don't catch everything today, you will be able to catch everything on YouTube. I'm going to hand this over to Lisa now because my arm hurts.
Camera girl.
And I'm holding it.
All right.
I don't know if you know how to flip everything over, but...
All right, we're going to review that. This is the flip here.
There we go. Okay,
there.
Good. That sounds
nice.
good.
Look, I have one down.
Nice. Nice job. So today we're going to be working on this chair behind me. It is now in shambles because I made it in shambles last night during my virtual workshops so that I could re-sew it today. The fabric that we're working with is not exactly ideal for all forms of upholstery, but it's no different than the fabric that was on it previously. We just have to sort of give it a little bit more structure to prevent it from fraying. So I took it apart so we could put it back together again, and we're going to be doing that today. So I'm going to be at the sewing machine, which means I'm going to turn this around. If you guys are here and you're learning something, all that I ask from you today is that you tap the screen as violently as possible whenever I remind you. You guys too.
Yep.
Tap the screen. I don't know how that does. This is like maybe my third time going live on Instagram. So
Let's see
I need you guys to be engaging with this content. When you're engaging with this content on Instagram, when you're doing it on TikTok, it's sending my content out through the For You pages or through the feeds, and it allows people to see it so they find out what it is I do for a living, which is I teach upholstery workshops to people like you and Lisa, who has been working with me for a year and now has her own business working on her own furniture. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to rebuild this trade. So if you guys could do me a huge solid, rebuild the whole upholstery industry for me real quick by just tapping on the screen. Gifts are nice. I love when you guys send gifts, but I get fractions of pennies for those gifts. So it is way more valuable to me for you to just be tapping if that's easiest for you. You can tap on the screen. You can share the content to your pages. You can tag friends in it. You can ask questions. If you're here, I am going to try to answer every question that we have coming through. So thank you for joining us. Let me know where you're at in the comments. Lisa will tell me where everybody is coming from. I know we get a lot of local people in this area, but we get people from all over the place. So I want to know where you're from. We're going to start working on this. The first thing I have to do is I have to sew some well, and I'll explain what I'm doing as soon as I get this over here.
Can you flip that one so I can see what I'm doing there?
Yeah.
Hey, Sarah. Sarah Cuchero's here.
Hi, Sarah. Sarah's on our team.
She is.
Sarah is a student who's been working with me for a little over a year now, I think. And I'm very excited to bring her onto a team of people who are making furniture to sell and making furniture for clients. The whole goal of me teaching these classes was to train as many people as I could, so that one day I could, build a team of upholsterers to help me so that I could take on the industry again and start taking on clients. And 2 years later of exclusively teaching full-time, that's where we're at.
Nice.
We made it.
Nice,
Kinda.
nice.
We don't have a physical space, and that's fine. I work out of my local makerspace. And I don't know if you guys have a local makerspace near you, but they're an invaluable resource for businesses like ours, like mine and Lisa's, who now utilizes the space to work on her own projects. And also come to my classes in case she has questions, because she's still only been doing this for a year. So if she has questions or she faces something that she's never seen before, and every single piece of furniture you take apart is completely unique. So if you think you know it, you
don't
really freaking know.
Because you open it up and go, oh, what's that?
I'll even say that it's also because most upholsterers are self-taught, because the trade disappeared from education a long time ago. So everybody is problem solving with their own resources. And sometimes it looks like t-shirts, and sometimes it looks like shredded paper, and sometimes
you're like, what
it's
did
duct
we
tape.
find?
But we
a
find a
treasure.
lot of stuff. So I already made the pattern for this really complicated wingback chair, which is curved in the back. It's got extremely high wings. This thing is taller than me. It's a beast. I think it's gigantic. So this is the middle part of the pattern. The arms I'm going to keep together because those look like they're in good shape. But these are 2 pieces I had to sew together to go around the curve of an arm on this crazy wingback chair. This was a difficult pattern to make. Typically, I like to overlap my pieces and hand stitch them together, because it's usually like this, like a teeny tiny little bit, and it's easier for me to hand stitch than it is for me to wrap my head around making a custom tailor fit pattern to a piece of chair. And then I remind myself that no, you actually do know how to do this, and it's way easier if you just fucking do it this way.
That's where I'm at with the chair we're on right now. I'm like, just learn how to do it, and then your life will be better.
So that's what we're doing for this. But this fabric is like a medium to lightweight. It's not really a medium to heavyweight. Not really ideal for upholstery, but it is going to work on this chair. This is this woman's dream fabric. She found it in 2016. It had since gone out of print. It was discontinued, so you could no longer get it. But I found 7 yards for her, which is exactly how many yards we needed.
Do we have another
Tripod? There are some out there. You can give them a tour out front.
Oh,
There's
okay.
tripods
Let's go check
front
out
desk.
Makerworks here on Instagram.
Yeah.
All right.
So now I'm going to be reinforcing these edges so they don't fray as much by serging them before I sew everything together, and pre-sewing the welt so that I can serge that edge before I sew everything together too. That's going to give me a lot more stability. I could put a backing on this fabric too, but some fabrics it's not that easy to do. And it doesn't really hold up as well. I ironed this and treated it with some starch to give it some more stability, but it drapes around the chair perfectly. I'm not at all concerned about it, but it is a difficult fabric to work with. Now, if she had cats living amongst this chair, I might get a little nervous. So I would definitely keep my cats away from fabric like this. So this particular presser foot actually has channels in it for a welt. So I just need to cut my welt and feed it through here and sew it, and it automatically sews a really tight line next to my robe. You see that? Doesn't that look nice? Mm-hmm. So I usually like to sew these layers together all at once so that I don't have to worry about hitting that stitch line every single time, because if you don't have a presser foot like this, you might not hit that stitch line every single time, and then you'll see several stitch lines when you sew everything together. But I do have a presser foot like this, so I sew in the stitch line every single time.
Nice.
And it definitely saves you
It
time and
is
effort.
very helpful.
Couple of things you should know when sewing welt. One, welt comes in all different thicknesses and sizes. This is 3/16 inch welt, or it might look like 6/32 when you order it online. This is a really stiff rope. You could potentially use any rope as a welt, but if it's not stiff, it's not going to hold its shape, and you might experience a lot of wobbliness. And the whole purpose of welt is to create nice clean lines and a clean trim, to make it easy to hand stitch into. There's a lot of functionality of welt. I am sewing this welt into a pattern, so the width of this is extremely important. If you're stapling the welt to the bottom of a frame or around a frame, it doesn't matter what the width is. It just needs to fold over this, and you need enough material on this side to staple. But if you're sewing it to a pattern, you have to be mindful of your seam allowance. So I want, when I fold this in half, for the distance between the edge of this and my needle to be a 1/2 inch, because I use a standard 1/2 inch seam allowance on all my pattern sizes. So I have measured this material to make sure that when it wraps around and folds in half, that it's a 1/2 inch on this side. And you can fold, you have a ruler over here, that pink one right there. Because these come in all different sizes, if you're nervous about what size, or you're not going to remember what I tell you, that this is 1 3/4 inches for 3/16 inch welt, you're not going to remember that. So you're going to need to know how to measure for it every time you do it. So you can take your ruler and fold it in half and make sure that the part that sticks out the right side of this welting rope is at a 1/2 inch, and then you fold this in, and it shows me that that is 1 3/4 inches wide. So if you had a thicker one, you're going to want to do the same thing. Just measure it so there's a 1/2 inch on the outside of the edge of that
Good
rope.
point.
Yeah, so you need to know how to measure for that.
yeah.
You can't just use the same measurement, like if this was
No
twice
matter
the
what it
size.
is.
Yeah.
Right.
Because when you're sewing your pattern, you're sewing at a 1/2 inch seam allowance, which means that this has to line up in the same spot at every, like the whole length of it, and all the layers have to line up in the same spot. So if my welt is in the right place, I can rely on my welt, and I don't have to focus as much on lining up as I sew.
Gotcha.
And that's where the welting foot becomes really super helpful.
Yes.
Because now I don't have to think about anything, because the welting foot rides in that channel, and I just have to make sure it doesn't jump the track. Like, that's the only thing I'm in control of. So when you're sewing a welt like this, be very mindful you're just folding it in half, and you're just setting it down, and you're just letting it feed through the machine by itself. If you're using a domestic machine and you don't have a double welt foot, a zipper foot works. Sometimes you can take your presser foot off completely. I don't know.
I use a zipper foot at home when I'm using my, and I actually just use a little Kenmore.
My husband once ground off with like a metal grinder. He just took 1/2 of the thing off.
Of the presser foot? Oh.
So that was how I did it in the early days.
There you go.
I didn't have a welting foot, but you can get them super cheap now. Like this, I think was $25, but when I first wanted to get one, it was like $125 for one.
Yeah.
They do have generic. I think this is generic. I don't think this is a Conso brand. It works very well.
And if you just have a regular machine, they have them for regular machines too.
Yeah. So I'm just feeding this in. The only thing I'm controlling, and that's only because this fabric is thin, it's not thick, so it doesn't grip as well in here, so it's not feeding as straight.
Gotcha.
I am trying to make sure I can control how it feeds into that. And by doing that, I have to kind of pull it over at an angle here, because then it just like goes over and lines up and goes through.
So it
if I
kinda
did it
drags
from
along
here,
the
it's just
edge.
going to sew right over top of it.
Yep.
Because the fabric isn't thick enough to stave it off.
Yeah,
so.
Sarah, you're right. I learned that little measurement tip just now too. So
Yeah.
she's like, good tip. And I'm like, yeah.
My teammates, ladies and gentlemen. But that's the
This
thing.
is all of us learning
you
every
don't
time.
You don't face this. When you're doing this on your own and you're trying to teach yourself, you have no way of knowing that.
Right.
You're
And
just
also-
like you see fabric folded over a rope, and you see how it's sewn together, and you
Yeah.
can put that problem solve that in your head, but you don't know the math of it. You don't know the math of it. Remember
And I
when
also have gone back because I used the welt for different purposes, and on the sewing portion just trimmed it.
Yeah. If you're sewing any fabric, for that matter, and a lot of times when people do welt, they tend to pull this tight because it keeps the rope in the thing, keeps everything straight, and it helps feed it in better. But when you do that, you're actually stretching the fabric, so the end result ends up looking like wrinkly and ripply.
Gotcha.
So you have to...
You want to be flat.
Yeah, you want it to just fold in half, no tension at all, lay it on the surface, and feed that in. But trust me, you are going to pull tight every single time.
Yeah, definitely.
And then when you're like, well, I want this straight now, that's why.
All right, shout out from Pueblo, West Colorado.
Wow, hello,
Cincinnati,
Colorado.
Ohio.
Ohio, you're not far. We get people from Ohio all the time in class.
Yeah, Ohio, you definitely could make a drive up here.
So I do these tutorials live on Tuesdays, and I'm working on whatever project I'm working on at the time. We should be working on Lisa's settee. We've really been giving her the shaft.
It's okay. It's okay.
We're gonna get to it.
That's
But this is a client project. Client projects have to take
They always do.
precedence over that because
Yep.
that's how we pay the bills. But I do teach classes. That's my full-time job. I teach classes 4 days a week here at my local maker space on Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, and Mondays, and I do that on the weekends to make it easier for people who are coming in out of state or out of town to take 4 classes in a row and really make it worth their while. My in-person workshops and my live virtual workshops, those happen over Zoom. They're not pre-recorded tutorials. They're all 3 hours long, and they're all $75 each. They're also buy 3, get 1 free. So if you know you're going to be working on a project that's going to take more than a couple of classes,
which everything does.
It's going to take you more than a couple of classes. And there are some projects I've listed on my website that say, like, this could potentially
be
one
done.
class.
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
really get a feel for what kind of projects can be done in 3 hours by someone who's never done it before. So buckle in, because you're probably saddled in for more than class. But they're buy 3, get 1 free, so that you can save money. So like a whole weekend, if you come on a regular weekend, it's just $225 plus whatever your hotel costs if you're staying out here, or gas or travel or whatever. And then you get 4 Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 3-hour classes to work on your project. And I will say that when you work on classes more consecutively, that you are more likely to get things done faster, because you're not putting time in between it, and you're not stressing out or forgetting about it, or putting it in the attic and being like, you know what,
I'll get back to
into
that.
upholstery.
Yeah, I'll get back to that.
At least a lot of people have the staple removal process.
Yes,
It's the hardest part.
Staples is like when you go to nursing school, when you take biochem, it's the weeder. It's the thing that
What is that?
It's a weeder class. So it's the class that makes people go, oh no, this is not for me.
Oh,
So
what class is it? What do they?
Biochemistry.
Because
Because it's super hard.
my college student is like, I fucking hate chemistry.
Chemistry's not for the faint-hearted.
Yeah. Get that part
This is why
out
I
of the
use
way.
my hands instead of doing
Absolutely
brain
necessary
things.
to do your job.
You still use your brain.
Same in
Here.
staple removal. In all of
Yeah.
the hundreds of thousands of years people have been making furniture, we have not developed a technology.
Yep, AI
get
cannot remove staples.
Staples out. So you'll always have a job in upholstery.
And you always, it's like a little treasure hunt, because sometimes you find these really old little tacks that they used to use before there were pneumatic staplers. And
I had a student tell me once a fun fact about those little nail heads that people used to like hand chisel them in front of the fireplace. Like the whole family would sit down.
that was like the
and hand
nightly
chisel them.
entertainment.
And they would trade them to like local tradespeople, like upholsterers, in exchange for like breads and food and shit like that. So it was like a currency.
Wow.
I don't know how long ago that was, and also I've never bothered to Google it, so I don't know that that's true.
Yeah.
Former upholsterer in one of my classes told me that fact, and I'm just gonna keep on spreading that lore. So
There you go.
because we don't have enough upholstery lore. I mean,
No, let's make up fun stories.
let's make up fun upholstery lore. So I'm sewing these. Once I sew these, we're going to take everything back to the serger in the textiles area of this makerspace.
Ooh, we get to go for a walk.
Yeah, we're going to use some more tools. This is my industrial sewing machine. It's a Conso 206 RB-2.
Write that down.
Write it down. I bought this for $800 off a friend, and it has been worth every single penny. I rarely ever use it.
Mag 4x4, I feel for you pulling staples in your grandpa's shop. That's the
What a good kid.
that's the job that we test people out on. So if you're gonna make it, you come back after you pull staples.
For sure. Another thing I wanted to do, because I can't do pattern matching on this pattern because we don't have enough fabric.
Oh, gotcha.
But I was able to, and because it takes weird angles around the, it has to be tailored and sewn the way it is in order for it to get around that curve. But all the angles and everything made it impossible to pattern match with as little fabric as we had, because we only have 7 yards. There's only 7 yards in existence, and I don't have any more than that. So I did my best to do that, but there was one area, I'll show you, here, that really bothered me, because when it was together, where's the other one? They're both in my lap.
Right here.
Yeah, that one.
Yep.
And you put these two pieces go together.
Oh, it doubled the flour. I see that. And then it
So-
looks like you didn't do a good job of matching.
I have enough material on this for it to go this way.
Oh.
So I'm gonna cut this off at the, I know,
All
I'm
right,
really
then.
nervous that this is a bad decision, but it bothers me less than having that flower piece be doubled in that area. So we'll figure it out. We'll edit it in post. No, I checked. I double checked.
You'll never know.
It is enough to cover that area. So I was like gonna be like, you know what? I'm not gonna take it apart. It's fine. But
Yeah.
because I decided to take the welting part apart, I was like, okay, gotta fix it. Gotta go and fix it. So I'm hoping that this solves that pattern matching issue. I did try to distribute the pattern in a similar way to how it presents like on a flat piece of fabric. So it's kind of scattered in the same way,
Right.
visually, aesthetically. I had someone tell me yesterday, if you hadn't said anything,
I would never
even
known. I know. This is the thing. Don't tell people if you mess up. I say
Except
that.
for people you're teaching, because you
Well,
want them
yeah,
to
you
know.
want them to learn
Right.
correct things, but also like
don't
98% of the people will never know. You'll look at it and be like, "Oh, I should have done that different." But
You should always hold your work to a high standard.
Yeah.
I'll say that. But there are some things, like little things that you are going to agonize over that are just not important to worry about because it doesn't affect the quality of the chair, the structure of the chair, and it's not always worth the extra effort in going in to do the manual labor to like fix that teeny tiny little thing that only your eyeballs can see.
yeah, Amber, I can't find your question, so if you just re-ask it, that would be amazing.
All
Just
right.
put it back in here, and we will get to it.
I'll go grab one of these tripods for you if you want to follow me, and we'll go
right.
into the textiles
Here we
area.
go.
All right. So this room that we're in right here, this is like it's called a conference room, but it's like a all-purpose classroom. Anyone can reserve this space. I reserve it to teach my classes. They did let me move in the corner over here. I pay the Prime membership for access to storage here, so I do have some storage over here too. But we are going to go through this hallway into the textiles area. We have heat presses here. We have heat presses. On the right side here, you'll see our laser cutters. This way, we got a couple of those. We're going to spend some time, hi Rob, here in, oh no, we gotta thread the, oh, we have to rethread the Juki. Are you using it?
No. What do you mean?
That
We're threading the
needs to be
Juki.
white.
But listen, that looks stressful, but I want you to know that I have done this before, and it's not as easy, it's not as hard as it looks.
It is not as hard as
The
it looks.
cool
I
thing
had it. I used to have my own.
MakerWorks has these cool standard operating procedures next to all their machines that have photos step by step.
Right.
So I have this. This was very helpful to me in threading it the first time. But we definitely have our work cut out for us today.
Yes.
But we
Check
get all
it out.
kinds of lessons.
There's 4 spools on this.
4 schools.
4 spools.
So the best way to do this.
Oh, I'm gonna come over here, Amber, see if I can find that question.
I'm gonna cut all these strings. Anybody
Oh,
who's
do you
ever-
stitch at the end of the welt so the rope doesn't come out? No, because you might want to
We're going-
open that up a little
Right.
bit.
So the pattern that we have made is wider than what we need, and this is why I say, well, this one can see me too. All of my students, I tell them not to rely on the pattern of the project that they're taking off, because it was cut to fit it after it was put on. So
Yeah.
all of that extra material is cut off. So the pieces that I made, that I sewed together, are all much like wider than I need, so that I can wrap around, I can hold it with my hands, I can wrap around, and I can staple it in place. I will staple over where that seam is a couple of times to prevent that from unraveling. But no, you don't tie off the rope or anything at the end of it. It's not going to come out. Everything is going to be securely attached to the chair. But that was a great question.
That is a good question. Also, can you use bias tape to make the welt?
Oh, instead of sewing it? I bet you could.
I bet you could.
Yeah, especially,
just
I don't
be-
know if you would be able to do that like if you did that to hold a cushion together, like you couldn't sew a cushion together with bias tape because it's not going to hold human body weight.
No.
But if you're needing welt to staple around the bottom of the chair or just staple anywhere for trim, maybe even to use as a single welt, I'd like to test that theory.
She
bias
says
tape,
just the rope inside the bias tape. So the bias tape would be the fabric, basically.
I mean, if you have enough of that material.
I guess.
I will say that the welt on a piece of furniture is typically the first thing to wear through.
That is true.
So if you use thinner fabrics, then it's going to wear through. You could use anything you want. You really can.
Right.
But whether or not that's going to stand the test of time is going to be the real question. All right, let me grab a bunch of thread. Are there more of these white ones somewhere? There were 4 in there.
So we're
at
going to
one
work
time.
on this fancy piece of equipment. This is called a serger, in case you are not familiar with this. On your clothing and things that you buy from the store, you know, the 3 or 4 threads that come all down and finish off that edge really nice. Make it so that you don't have fabric fraying and things like that. That is what that is for. How do I get access to your classes? Go to lulco.com.
Or .co. It's not
.co. Sorry, I
well,
forgot.
also, so for anybody watching, the link is in my bio. So you can go
link is in the
to
bio.
my bio and click on any of the valuable links there. You get stuff for my classes, both virtual and in person. You'll get stuff for my t-shirts. I have some fun t-shirts that you can buy. Stuff for my summer camp. I have a summer camp coming up in August. I don't remember what.
Ooh, you just purchased a serger. Way to go, Amber.
Way
It's
to
fun.
go, Amber.
I loved mine, and then I kind of quit sewing.
So this is a
Long
cool
ago.
machine because everything is color coded. So really, you don't like this will get to the point where you don't have to look at the instructions because you can see
You
where
can
the
follow
colors
the red
go.
or the green.
But you do have to know like the direction in which to pull them in. Now, I want to try a neat trick that I learned from a student.
Oh, are you tying it to the old piece?
Yeah, I don't know if it'll
I have
work.
done that many a time.
On a serger?
Yep.
So
And Mag 4x4, yes. You can always cut more off. You can't add it on.
That's right.
Same thing with a haircut.
right, that's right. And wood and metal.
And wood and metal, anything that you cut, actually.
So I'm just simply tying these pieces together. This doesn't always work because this thread is not very strong. So potentially it could just break before we get through. But in theory, I can tie these together and pull on the end that comes out this way, and they will thread themselves.
Thread all the way through. So yeah, Poppy, I have seen that advice as well, to use the old fabric as a pattern. But also, if you have a really old piece of furniture, the foam that's inside of that has really degraded, and the fabric actually degrades as well. So the fabric could be stretched out a little bit from people sitting on it a million
It's
times.
definitely stretched out.
It's going to be stretched out. So if you're not really getting a good fit, and also when you're doing, especially I'm doing a cushion right now, so this is where my brain is. When you're doing a cushion, when you put all new upholstery inside, like the inside of the arms of a chair, it's not the same size as it was when they originally did it, because maybe you have a little more padding in there, maybe you have a little
It's
less.
definitely going to be
It's not
fluffier.
Yeah, it's not going to be the same. So that's, I think, the best reason is that the old is not necessarily going to represent the new.
You don't want to lean into those patterns as a crutch because it's not always going to serve you for every single piece. So it's best to know how to make the pattern. That being said, there are some difficult shapes out there,
Yes.
like curved backs, that it's good to keep the pattern at bare minimum for reference so that you can make a new pattern.
Right.
Okay, so I'm still relatively new to serger. I don't want the blade.
Oh, so when
Just
she
want
says
the
blade,
stitch.
let me explain that. So as you sew in there, sergers also have a blade that cut the extra fabric out, because you don't actually sew right along the edge of the fabric. it usually sews it and then cuts
Yeah, it cuts it at
cuts
the same time.
the excess off. But she says that she is not using the blade today, so there you go.
Yes, correct. Okay.
Hey, that sweetheart. Yes, you can be a complete beginner. I had never done a single piece of upholstery in my life, and I came as a beginner, and that's about 16 months ago. And now I am taking clients.
Look what I did.
Did you do it?
I did.
It
So
worked.
I got
Woo.
one. I got the purple.
One down.
Purple, yellow,
Purple.
done.
Done.
I need to just stitch it through, or I just need to feed it through the needle.
Amber, don't give up on your dining chairs.
No, don't. Join, even the local upholstery club is free. So you don't have to take a class to learn from me. You can join the club and you can make a post.
And that club's on Facebook.
Listen, don't put scissors in your scissors.
Don't what?
Don't use, this is what the tweezers are for. I'm like
Oh,
trying to
use the
grab
tweezers?
it with a pair of
Yeah.
scissors. So I just need to get this little thread.
While we're at a pause, if you guys could all just tap, 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 tap.
Oh, yeah.
We're spreading the word, spreading the information, and the more you tap, the more people see it, the more that info gets out there. So we're at almost 3,000. Let's just crank it over 5.
We've been getting anywhere from 25,000 to 100,000 likes, depending on how many people end up joining. So we
Gotcha.
got low numbers, obviously. So if we can make it past 25,000 likes, that'll keep our information relevant into the algorithm, and it will help us with engagement and get our information out there so more people can see it. I don't have a lot of money paying ads and everything like that. I rely on your guys' engagement, which is the equivalent of word of mouth on the internet, to spread this message so that more people can see it. And you don't have to physically share it. All you got to do is engage with me in the comments section.
While she's threading, I'm just going to show you what's happening over here in the background. It's noisy. You can hear it. But check this out over here. We got somebody in today embroidering hats. Pretty dang cool. For
an embroidery shop.
For an embroidery shop. That's ironic,
So
right?
doing the production work at
There
the
you
local
go.
makerspace
Nice.
for an embroidery shop. Okay, here's string number 2.
And I'm going to show
This
you
one
there
is
on
the green
Instagram in a
one.
second. Oop, we're going to come out. There we go.
This is the green one.
There's that machine back there. See, he's over checking on it. Just past him.
We're 2 for 2.
Making hats over there. This is the beauty of these maker spaces, that almost anything you could think of that you want to make, you can become qualified on the tools to be able to use them,
Even if you have zero experience.
even if you've never done it before.
They have the classes teach you how to do it. The staff is always here to help. So if you come here, I took a class on the CNC router. I took a class on a Friday to learn how to use the CNC router. On Saturday morning, I cut my first project, which was a life-size Barbie box, and it was a huge hit. I sold it.
Oh, the Barbie box was
I
amazing.
sold it for $250. For
That's awesome.
$80 in materials. I didn't really make a profit on it, but I sold it to a friend who was popular.
So Amber, if you're doing a dining chair, you for sure can use the old fabric to just for reference and
As a
cut it bigger,
guide, yeah.
just for an idea, and maybe also for placement if you have a pattern on that, or you want, a flower in the center of the seat or something like that. But when you're sewing things, you have to be a little bit more exact, and it's hard to sew it together, especially like if you're doing a cushion that has welt around the outside. It's kind of like you got to get it all in there in the right place.
Everything's got to be
In the right space at the right place at the right time.
But
So-
most upholstery is just rectangles and squares.
Yep.
It's not the shape of the furniture. It's rectangles and squares cut and wrapped around and fastened to the furniture.
Right.
So don't let the pattern making aspect of it stress you out, because with the exception of the project that I'm working on today, it's just going to be
Yeah, for the most part.
But this is, today you get to learn the complicated process of making a pattern. We're going to touch on it anyway. So I'm 2 for 2. I got
2 for 2?
strings.
Yes. Halfway.
Now I'm just going to figure out where the other ones connect.
Let's see.
doesn't pull like a sewing machine, like a domestic machine.
Right.
This doesn't pull. You have to
No.
sew. Oh, I wonder.
Why don't you just sew it? Yeah.
I'm such a
Now that you
dumb
said
guy.
that, it's exactly how I used to do
Listen,
it.
we're getting smart as
We're-
you watch in real time.
That's right. We're working smarter,
won't do that.
not harder.
Maybe.
It has to be closed up.
Yeah.
Is
Is it
it-
not plugged in? You gotta
Okay,
plug
smarter,
over
not harder. Look, you might need
there? Where does
some
this
electricity.
go? Oh, over here. Put it under the table, Ella. There goes nothing.
When I worked in computers, it was like, is the printer on? That was the first question.
Mhm.
My printer won't print. Is the power on?
Why is that not working?
What is the name of the club on Facebook? It is
Loco Upholstery Club.
Loco Upholstery Club. Is the switch?
Is it plugged in here?
Wait, the switch just flicked. That's the light. Looks like.
Yeah, but the light didn't come on, so it's not on.
Is this? I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
That's in
Wait,
really
is
good.
this strip on?
Is the strip turned
No,
on?
it's not.
Here we go. Again with the power. It's okay.
Listen, when you don't encounter these problems,
This is a rarely used machine. There. Look at how that works.
Look at that.
It just pulls through. Yep.
We did
Amazing.
it. Did you see
Yes.
that, Rob? Did you see how I threaded that?
Nice.
I trimmed all of those strings off and tied the new ones to the old ones, and then
Then just sewed, so it pulled it through.
that was genius.
Never
Okay.
successfully did that.
Yes, and there was a slight user error.
But I just did it live on TikTok. So this does still have the scissors down, so you can watch it as it feeds it
I'm
through.
gonna come
Oh,
around
let me
here
put this down.
so that we can see.
So this, you always got to test it.
So see that little strip coming out
So I do not want that to cut because everything I've made
is to
is
size.
to size. I'm really gonna get this string out. Oh, that looks gorgeous. Look at it, I did it.
show it.
Oh my god, that was the least stressful thing I've done today. Was threading this serger.
Nice.
So, I'm gonna have to remember how to move that blade to the side. It does move out of the
I
way.
have to look in the book.
So this goes out this way. And I feel like, oh, there we go. This moves to the side and that flips. I don't know if it needs to go up this way. It flips out of the way. Best way to find out if it worked is double
Instagrammers,
sew.
We're gonna come from behind and see this on this side. Nice.
Nope, that's not the right way because it just got caught on the thread. So it must be, oh, that makes way more sense. So now I can sew this through.
That's pretty.
That's oil. That makes that sound. I remember that happened before. Where does the oil go though?
So you can see on the contrast here, everybody's familiar with this white stitching. It's on your yoga pants, it's inside your clothes.
It reinforces
It
the
reinforces,
edges of
yeah.
your furniture or fabric so that it doesn't fray.
Right. So if you have fragile fabric, it's a good idea.
Set up trial sewing and replacing needles. I'm just trying to remember where to oil it, you guys. Clean serger. Yeah, that's too loud. Where did I put the freaking oil before? Hold on. I remember having to oil it before. Can't remember where I put the oil. Looper cover chick guard.
See that nice book? all the pieces and parts. It's great. It makes it so we can be in this space and we can use things that maybe we're not really familiar with.
I can't see it in the SOP, and I can't immediately see it. I can. This guy. That was what it was.
Found it?
Yeah, so this guy squeaks when it rubs
Oh,
on that.
yeah, the piston that goes up and down.
Yeah.
You need the oil?
Yeah.
Oh, he's got oil.
It's the same low weight oil for sure.
How does it come out? Fast? Slow?
Oh, drip. I just saw a drip.
Is it?
I thought I did.
There's one of them.
Yeah, no.
Is there an end on it? Oops. There we go. Just a little bit of oil in there. Nope, maybe not.
Okay, we need to Google it.
Google it. Let me go grab my phone.
Does anyone put the answers in the comments? It did that to me last time I worked on it. It happens when it gets too fluffy in there. But I just can't remember where it went last time. But I probably Googled it. Changing thread color.
What is this? Juki what?
Juki MO-655.
Do you want a video?
Yeah.
Top one for maintenance. Yeah, it should flip. There you go.
Problem solving.
Also, this is the miracle of the internet.
We got a little brush.
A brush.
There's probably one in that sewing machine drawer over there.
Like a little paintbrush.
Oh, I did do it right. Okay. I was right.
I don't see.
And then this one, I need to see where I did it.
Also, what you're seeing right now, us Googling, is exactly why Kim is doing what she does because
That's how I learned how to do it.
it's hard to Google and find upholstery instruction. So welcome. Got a sponge.
Oh,
Oh, did you find it?
it's rubbing on the.
On the blade
Yeah.
that you had lifted?
Woo!
Ta-da!
And
Problem
I
solved.
didn't break anything. Okay, so I'm gonna serve that and everything now. Did I bring everything?
I think we did.
So I will just have hand me press as I finish it.
Gotcha.
Does that work?
You got the border or you
So I'm going to do these two things first, and then you can just hand me the next thing, and then the next thing. So I'm going to go through and serge all these edges because this is already fraying apart, and I want it to be stronger for the amount of body weight that gets put on these things. Can you kick this under the table towards me?
Let me unwind it.
Thank you.
Yep.
And then I also recall this frequently slipping around under my feet because the distance of the
Oh,
foot.
is there like a mouse pad?
So maybe I could put this on that side of it.
Whoops.
Or right on top of it. And that'll keep it from slipping away. Alright. So now I can just feed this through. So I am not an experienced serger by any means. Lynn Sellers of Up and Up Upholstery taught me how to use this machine. She taught me how to thread it and everything. So there are guides here that are a little bit more in-depth than a sewing machine that like you can line this up with. There are guides on here. There are guides on the presser foot that you can use. I still haven't quite figured out like what any of that
mastered all the
means.
guides.
So I am just running this through. I don't want my presser foot to ride on top of my welt if I can avoid it because it'll smash it down.
Smashes it, yep.
So I'm gonna just run this through, and I'm just gonna push that welt in as far as I can,
Here, so you guys can see what it looks like.
and you can just see it come out the other
See that on the
side,
other side?
all nice and surged.
Beautiful.
So ever since Lynn taught me how to do this, I've been using it on all of my box cushions.
Have you?
It makes it look
I've been
so
thinking
much
about
nicer.
using it. Yeah.
I got it, like it's a lot of extra work, but it looks so nice and it makes it so much easier to sew when you sew everything together. So, if you can get your hands on my sewing machine came with a serger, so I have one and I even had it rebuilt. So it's ready to use, I just have never used it. And MakerWorks has theirs set up all the time, stuff like this is different. Plus it's a Juki, I'm certain it's better than mine. I don't
Right.
know what mine is called. So now I've got that whole side serged together.
Beautiful.
So it'll hold up better.
Got another one. So
Lynn also showed me how to remove one of these strings and make it like curls up on the edges.
oh, so you make a lettuce edge?
So yeah, and I did that when I made my flower pillow.
Gotcha.
So the petals look like petals.
Have a little more of interest to the edge. It's not just plain.
I think it's a specific one. I don't think you can just take any one out because two of them are like top, like straight stitches, and then two of them weave in and out of those stitches. I don't really know the order that it goes in.
So I just want to show you, and I'll come over to TikTok in a second. Check out the edge of this fabric. This is why she's doing this. Because that fabric just really has no interest in staying together. Basically.
It's not ideal for upholstery.
No,
Well, we
it
are
is tough.
reinforcing it so that
That's
it
right.
will
We're
work.
making it work. So over here, this I just want to show you from the side there. You can still see her sewing. We can do multitasking. There you go. There's the edge of that fabric. You can see that how frayed it gets. And that's just why we need that extra reinforcement.
So now we're going to run this edge through all the way down. I do want to be mindful.
All right, so we need to get some more likes so that we get up to our goal for the day. So if you guys, we're just going to take a like break and everybody tap, 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 tap until that bar goes across the top on TikTok. And when you let go, you get a big little
Yeah, there's
fun
like a
party.
little heart meter that shows
Yeah,
up
you
in
get
the
a heart
upper
meter.
left-hand corner.
And then
If you like it enough
Instagram
times.
doesn't show me how many likes you've got.
Oh, it doesn't?
I don't see it.
Does it say how many people are hanging out?
Is that next to the live?
I have no
square?
idea.
Here's
I don't
me.
know.
This is me learning social media.
I don't know. I've only been
If anybody
on
can tell me how you know how many people. It just says
Instagram Live a couple of times.
Instagram
Look at
Live.
that, looks so much better than even the other one. I wonder if because I don't have the welt.
Oh, because it's just flat.
I get it closer to the edge.
Yeah.
But the welt, I can only go so far.
Right.
Oh, I forget. It's not a sewing machine. You gotta sew
No, you
it
just
through.
sew it out. Sew it through.
I'll never like because on a industrial machine that can really thrash your machine by just
sewing
like crazy. You know how we wind our
Well,
water?
yeah.
We shouldn't be doing that.
Oh.
Can't make that.
Oh, sorry.
I also want to iron these before we go back to sewing them together. Oh, there's one more of these too. Where'd that one go?
There's another one
Okay.
over there. Yep. I just grabbed one off the top.
So once these are sewn, we'll be able to sew everything back together again.
Does the serging affect your seam allowance that you created?
No, this isn't taking any material off because I put the scissors away.
Okay. It doesn't scrunch it up or anything?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. It doesn't appear to. That's a good question because I'm sure in some instances it does depending on the fabric. I think this is just thin enough that it's not.
It's just going through flat.
Sergers are wonderful because they don't have bobbins.
Oh, you're
You
right.
sew
You just sew forever. Because look at how much thread is on those spools. You do sew forever.
Feeding the
Here's me now, like, being mad at myself for sewing right the serger that slow down.
Let me teach a serger class. I'm a pro now. I'm not.
But you don't have to be a pro.
No. Just gotta want to learn.
You just gotta be willing to maybe make a mistake and undo some things.
Hold on. Oh.
I mean,
Well, the bonus to like taking the class.
yeah,
Like
that there's somebody there to kind of stop you to be like, wait, before you do that.
Right. All of my classes are bring your own project. So you bring your project that you want to learn on to the class, and I walk you through that project step by step, like every step of the way. It doesn't have to be like everyone else's. You're not at the same stage as everyone else. You can start a class at any time. You can end a class at any time. Even my virtual classes are live over Zoom. They're not pre-recorded. So you're at home with your project, asking me questions, and I'm answering them in real time. And I'm demonstrating the skills. Last night I taught someone who'd never even seen springs on the inside of the chair before how to tie springs over screen.
Springs!
It
They're
was
my
very
fave!
tough. And 100% of my students do springs right 100% of the time. And
Yeah,
even last
because-
night she didn't break that record. Even trying to do it over screen.
Okay, newly refined designs. This is an industrial serger, right?
Nope.
It's not?
No, this is a regular
No,
serger.
this is a regular serger. It's just fancy because it's a Juki, which is a really nice brand. But there's, yeah, look, we just
But it's
got
so much
all
stronger.
that fraying is all taken care of.
Taking care of me. So we
I got one more for you. Yep.
Mop one. So I'm going to feed it through this way because I want this seam to lay down like the other one.
Nice, 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 nice. So if you like this serger part, go ahead and give us 1,000,000 likes.
A million, please.
1,000,000.
We'll take 1,000,000
We'll
likes.
take 1,000,000 likes. Wear that finger out,
Not a penny left.
right? Make a mark on your phone for every time you.
We're a hole through the glass.
That's it. Thank you.
When you guys are engaging in the content on here, it's sending all my content through the For You page, and it allows people to see what it is that I do, which is teach upholstery workshops. And soon, not just upholstery, so furniture refinishing,
Yup,
painting,
yup.
woodwork.
We have exciting things in the pipe.
All launching in August.
Oh, yep.
Ta-da! Okay, so now we're gonna go iron it.
Okay.
That's the next step.
Ironing is
Turn
next.
this off.
All right, let me grab.
Grab my stuff.
This is how I feel. I'm going to pick up Instagram, and then I'm going to pick up TikTok.
I'll grab TikTok.
Oh, you're gonna
You
take
grab
TikTok. All right.
Instagram.
Here we go, Instagram.
Are you using this ironing board over here? Okay. So this is shared space for everyone. This one might look cool if we, and I want you to like,
Behind.
make it a little bit taller. They can see from on top.
Oh, gotcha.
This one gets super tall.
Isn't that exciting, everybody? An ironing board. Yes, but an ironing board is an essential tool.
Arguably the most exciting tool at MakerWorks.
That's right. Everybody's always trying to get to the iron.
So this is what I'm going to use. Got some linen.
Ooh, did they get a new iron? Rowenta. Those are awesome.
It's heavy too, and I love that because it puts all the pressure.
And you don't have to put so much in your arm.
Yep, which is not different than you can really melt the fat. And you're not consistent.
Good content of this.
It said it somewhere.
To say, I'm looking on the edge.
I've ironed it before.
You have?
Yeah, so you should always test the spot
Yes.
to make sure that you can iron it.
And always have a ironing cloth, because if your fabric is not happy to be ironed,
Yes,
you can put a cloth on top of it and it protects the fabric and your iron.
That's what this is. This looks gross, but that's just starch and discoloration.
Yep. Yep. Just a nice smooth piece of fabric that you can use.
I have already starched all of these and everything.
Oh, you starched it?
Yeah. Because I made the fabric just a little bit easier, but not a lot, not a ton. But, so I also have to re-sew this because I couldn't find the white thread. So it's dark. Oh, and yeah, so I'm just going to sew tighter with the white one a little bit. And not really showing, you can't see it. I can see it. But
That's one of those, probably no one knows.
yeah,
Moments.
definitely. But it's like a fraction of a millimeter,
Right.
but it's against the light fabric. So for me, it's below. So this is that curve that goes around that arm. Is a very hard part to get, so I don't want to ruin it here with. I don't want to achieve any wrinkles in this area, so I'm doing a little bit at a time. Ironing this flat. Just kind of getting up in there a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you kind of have to move this around so that you can get all of them in there. So that and it just is way easier to work with if it's pressed, but not all fabric can be pressed.
No.
Some of it will be melted.
Yes. So always, always, always find a scrap.
You can see how this
Test
changes
it
shape.
out. Yep. See how there's a big curve.
So that's a different shape than the shape that got sewn to it. And then you can see there's a little bit. Just a little bit. Kind of that.
It is 11:09.
Time.
Yeah.
So the next step after ironing all of these is take it back to the sewing machine. So the parts back together and then start assembling it on the chair, because we're going to make you proud. So that so quite everybody's here.
That's right. So tell me behind this fabric.
She sent me a picture of the fabric. She found her with the fabric in 2016, and I cropped it, and I did a reverse image search on Google.
The reverse image search is amazing.
That's all you can find. And found it on eBay.
eBay.
Yeah, it was on eBay. And it wasn't even very expensive. I think it was only like $16 a yard or something.
Nice.
And there were only 7 yards, which is exactly how many she needed to just cover the piece. That's not even taking pattern matching into consideration. I just got lucky that the pattern kind of lines up in the angles that it needs to go on. And the cushion should also line up with the front. So when it goes down, that should line up. But the back, I don't know if I can get the back down in one piece. But I have one piece that's big enough to cover the back, so there will be no pattern matching necessary. So the only part where it won't technically match is where all of these seams meet up. But it's been matched thoughtfully. Like it's
been put together.
in some areas it'll look practically matched. Like this leaf matches up with leaves on the other side. And on the other side, a flower. We can fix that, remember?
Oh yeah, we did fix the flower. So if you've asked a question on TikTok, we're up really high. I'll come back in a minute.
We'll answer them shortly.
We will get there.
Oh, geez, it's going south.
It's on. You got it.
Oh my gosh.
You probably couldn't see it. And her whole lens of her glasses was fogged from the steam. Couldn't see a dang thing.
Working with rare fabric. Absolutely blind.
It's all fine. It's all fine. No worries. Everything's fine. It's fine.
Okay, so these.
Do you want me to take those and lay them out in the other room so they don't wrinkle
Yeah,
up?
that's a good idea. This is the last bit. I won't need to iron the welt.
Gotcha.
I'll
I'll
do
do that too.
So last piece, and then sew them back together. And
I'll
I
be right back.
will take the time after we sew them back together, before we attach it to the chair, to show you guys how I came up with this pattern and give you a brief example of how you can lay it out on your furniture to make your own. Because you should never rely on the pattern you take off the chair. Although when you have a complicated shape like this, you should definitely keep it around for reference. Because it's going to be helpful to you later. This middle part of the pattern is just a polygon. It's just wider at the top, shorter at the bottom, straight on the top and bottom. Most of upholstery is just rectangles and squares and polygons. Wrapped and stapled. Alright, this is good. I think we're ready.
Ready?
Yep.
All right.
I'll grab TikTok.
I'm gonna get Instagram. I like when you travel music. That is so aging me. What game show is that from?
It's a game show.
It was from a game show.
I remember it. All right. What do we got for questions? I'm going to pull you guys down a little closer
Oh, okay.
to the sewing
I'm gonna shut
machine.
this door so a little more. Just quiet. But you probably can hear in the background some pretty big machinery going over there on the other side of the room. That
This is the planers in the
wood
wood
door.
shop.
Yep, that's the wood shop. So
Virginia says, is it safe to reuse the old springs from a chair? Yes, and most of the time they are very reusable. I very rarely have ever come across a set of springs in a chair that cannot be reused. They last forever. Okay, so now I have to sew all of these pieces together. And I don't know if I can see it anymore, but there is a specific spot on here that those pieces need to line up on.
oh, you're
Yep. So that they fit the chair properly. But I did cut
that
a
was
notch.
the snip, the notch. That's the word. And what pieces do you have in your hand?
So
This is the center.
This is the center, and I have the welt. I'm going to sew all the layers together at once.
All right.
I'm going to put these together and hope that both of them have a shape that looks like a notch and the same consistency in the same spot. Because that's where I put it. but the serger, we might have to pin it.
Pin or clip?
Pin first. Pin it to the chair and then pin it to.
Oh.
Yep, I can't see it, and I cannot go forward and just guess because there is a very specific height at that angle that it has to lay
be
on the
at.
chair, or it's not going to fit. So we
Yeah.
can talk about that. We'll do
There's
it
no
there.
willy-nilly here.
So let's get. You can work the cameras, get them set up. I'm gonna put a couple of sawhorses right here.
Gotcha.
And work from them, so you can move everything kind of out this way.
Out this way. We're gonna come here.
Ooh.
Sorry, Instagram.
So
This is struggling. Here we go. So Kim has these amazing sawhorses. If you haven't seen them
can they
before,
both see both cameras?
let me see over here. Oops, sorry about that. Yep, there's the sawhorses. So
Best investment I ever made.
yes, those you can get from Home Depot, and it's the black metal portion that you get from Home Depot. And then she made these plywood like box trenches, which when she flips it over, the trough. Yeah, so check that out. Look, what a perfect place to put the legs of a piece of furniture and your tools and things that you need, your pen, all that stuff.
So what I'm doing right now is getting everything out that we need to get started before it gets started, so that we're ready to go.
That's right, so we're all set.
What else we gotta do? So I'm gonna set this up. My legs are a little wider in the front than they are in the back. Don't want these to fall on the floor because it's the only fabric I have left.
Right? Do you want help moving it? Or you got it?
I want people to know they can do this themselves.
Okay,
So you can do
you
this
are
yourself.
strong.
Chairs are lighter when you carry them over your head.
There you go. And you just find.
I set them, because this is like wood on wood, I make sure I'm very careful not to scratch the surface of these. When
Gotcha.
you keep up your legs, you can put carpet down on these. This is a product that I will be carrying on my website in August with pre-built upholstered boxes that are nice and soft. And they'll have my logo on the side.
How fancy.
So you'll be able to order these from my website shortly, but before if you want to get your hands on them before then, just go to Home Depot. These are $25. You can get them to even cut the wood. My ones at home, these are like 9 inches wide, I think, or 6 inches wide. My ones
Yeah.
at home are 12 inches wide,
Oh.
so that I can fit more tools and stuff on there when I work. I don't know if 12 inches wide is necessary, but they're also boxed in, so it doesn't slip.
Oh, stuff doesn't slide out the end.
Slips out. But I don't think that this has too big of a difference.
No.
So I've got to pin the pattern to this chair. That's got to start with this sort of flip back. So once I've got this adjusted, I'm going to flip this back. So the back is this way.
All right, so we're gonna move.
Lifting everything to move it and not
No sliding,
dragging it.
right?
Now this curve shape is a difficult beast when it is sitting in this position, so you want to make sure you're getting a ton of support. And you'll see the length of this chair is like the length of these boxes, which is only 4 feet long. So when
So
I
you
start
can
to
see
put
that.
this pattern on, I'm going to start putting it on inside out. It's made symmetrical, so both sides are exactly the same. So if I put it on symmetrically, everything should fit perfectly. I do have a mark on the top middle of this piece and the top or the bottom middle of this piece. I folded it in half. I made a little snip, and now there's like an arrow-like shape there. Can you see that on camera?
Yeah.
And that's where I line up my centers. So that's the center of my fabric. I do have a marks on my chair on the bottom center and the top center back here where this lines up. So I can make sure that I have it in place before I do anything. Right now we're just pinning it
Gotcha.
to make sure it fits.
And you're pinning it inside out.
Yes, I'm pinning it inside out because I can pin the seams together
Yep.
on the inside and then just take it right to the sewing machine from here. It's always best to double, triple, quadruple check your fit before you sew it because unstitching it can damage the fabric. And I have that lined up with the center mark, so I'm just going to start pinning right to the face. I'm just gonna find my pins.
So Virginia asked if we could talk about measuring for fabric
Yeah.
to figure out how much yardage you need.
We can. We can. I'm not gonna move anything from where it's at to go, but I think I can point it out. kind
Okay.
of where we're at.
I'm gonna try and
So
come up
when you
high
measure
here.
I have to be close to the camera for everybody to hear me. Okay. So I'm gonna show what's your name, Virginia?
Yes.
How to measure for fabric. When you're measuring for fabric on a piece of furniture, you're measuring the length of the panels. Don't worry about the widths because fabric only comes in 54-inch widths and very rarely will you be able to get multiple panels out of that width. So if you're just measuring for the length, you're gonna end up with a little bit of extra fabric that you can use for mistakes.
Yes.
Or pillows if you don't
Welting
make
or
mistakes.
whatever
Yeah.
you need.
You're gonna need a little bit more extra fabric than you need, I promise, especially if you're getting started, you're gonna mess up a lot of fabric. So buy check fabric as cheap as you can when you're practicing and get more than you need every single time. So in order to measure for fabric, all you have to do is measure the lengths of the panels. This chair has a back panel that goes on the face, panel for the arm, panel for the arm, panels for the arms and the back, panel for the back, panel for the seat, panel for the front. It also has a panel for the top of the cushion, a panel for the bottom of the cushion. So I need to measure all of those lengths, add them up, divide by 36, and that's going to tell me how many yards. Always round up to how many yards. Yeah, write that down. Always round up to how many yards, and always add a couple of extra
Were you
yards.
starting inside back?
Yeah, so the inside back of this, if you're measuring a chair that still has upholstery on it, you're not going to be able to reach your hand in through the back where it needs to staple, but this fabric needs to tuck in through this pull-through spot, pull through the back, and staple to the outside. So I can reach that from here, but you're not going to be able to, so I'm just going to show you how you would be able to do it. Just tuck that in as deep as you can into that crack, and you're going to measure an extra like 4 to 6 inches. You'll want to know the height from like where the back of your chair is to the bottom of your chair is, like where that comes out, but measure those additional inches to your length, and that's how much you're going to need. I need enough to tuck all the way back through there, attached to the frame, measure up all the way to the top, and rack to the back and staple to the back of the frame. But I also need enough material to hold onto it with each hand, and for me that's 2 inches on each side, so that's an additional 4 inches. So because I don't have this, I'm measuring with the upholstery on, I'm going to measure the length from the back of here to the bottom of this chair, and I'm going to add 10 inches.
Gotcha.
And that's going to be the length of that. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the arms. So for that was 42 inches.
With the 10 added?
Yeah. And then this, we do the same thing. It tucks in, the arm tucks in there, comes around, and it staples to the back. There I have 26 inches plus 10 inches, or 36 inches. And I need 2 of those panels because I have a right side and a left side.
Yep.
And then the outside arm has a panel. It gets stapled up to the wood here, wrapped underneath the frame. I've got that at 15 inches with 10 inches is 25. Times 2 that one also. And then the back of the chair, which would measure from the top here all the way to the bottom, which I can't reach, so I'm just gonna do this one again. It's gonna be, this is 42 plus 10 inches, it's gonna be 52 inches. So I would add all of those up.
What about the cushion?
Oh, the cushion. Oh, and the deck. The
And the
seat deck.
deck. Oh, yeah.
The seat deck. So the seat deck goes all the way to the back, to the front, and wraps around the front of the frame. I've got 32 plus 10 inches would be 42. And then the cushion is going to be a full circle all the way around. This one I don't need to add 10 inches because it just has seam allowances, but it has 1, 2, 3, 4 seam allowances. Each one of those is a ½ inch on each side, so it's 8 extra inches.
8 inches.
So 47 plus 8, 55 inches.
55.
So now add all of those up. What do we got? She's mathing. Remember when I told you were going to need math? In school, this is it.
This is why you need math in school.
This is the time for it.
313. So we got 313,
Three-
and I'm gonna use
13 divided by 36.
divided by
Look at
36.
Lisa's
Look at it.
literally over
You can
here
tell that I'm
doing the actual
substitute
math.
teach.
She was a teacher. She was a teacher.
Let's see. So let's see.
You've got a
gonna
computer
go
in your
9.
packet.
9 times 6, 4, 5, 8.
She's doing this old school manual math. 28,
28. Yep. So that's
5.
5. Thank you. And 2, 25. So that's another 8.7.
So 8 point whatever yards, you're rounding up to 9.
Automatically you go
I might
9.
add 2 additional yards to make sure you got enough to make mistakes. So you're at 11. Now, if you have a print, like the one that I'm using,
Ooh, yes.
then you're going to need to account for the pattern match. So you need to know a couple of things. You need to know, one, how big is your pattern? How big is your pattern
What's the
match?
repeat? Yep.
If you, or your pattern repeat. If you are, let me roll out my fabric so we can show that. This is a good lesson.
This is good. Thanks. Thanks for asking that.
Thanks for asking. Let me get this ready so we can show what the pattern repeat on this, which I know is quite large. That's why it's a problem.
This one?
A small pattern repeat is ideal to a larger one.
Oh, for sure, because you don't waste as much fabric.
You won't waste as much fabric.
All right,
So
hang
you
on.
can
Let's.
point both of these guys over here. I'll get TikTok. So now we're going to learn a little bit about the pattern repeat and how to measure for that. So this pattern has a pattern repeat, which is the pattern itself is repeated over and over and over again on the fabric.
And it's along the.
You can see with this
length of
purple
the fabric.
flower, you can see it, the same flower here, here, it's going to be that far up here. This flower, you can see it here, here. You can see that there's a whole other row of
Whole
that
nother
going
row
on
of
over
that.
here.
Yep.
So our pattern, we pick a part of the pattern that we can see repeats, and we measure from one point of that pattern. Sometimes you can pick the center. If it's geometrical, it's way easier. This is
Right.
floral,
This is
pretty organic.
Very.
I'm gonna take the bottom of this flower and measure it to the same spot on the bottom of the flower up here. I have a 36-inch pattern repeat.
That's huge.
That's the biggest pattern repeat I've ever used. So when you're using a pattern repeat, you have to add those additional inches, 36 inches, to everywhere on the pattern or on the project where the pattern breaks. So on my seat, I have the back and then it breaks to the seat. So I need to match the pattern in that spot. So I add 36 inches to there. For this, I'm adding another yard for every seam on this chair.
So this might influence your
one
fabric
additional
choice.
yard, it definitely will. And then it breaks again here in this spot. So I need the pattern to repeat to go down the front. This seam is costing me 36 more inches.
And there's another one on the
And
bottom.
there's another one on the bottom. So that's 3 additional yards.
So right there, you
and
just
then
added
it
3
goes
yards.
down the face of it.
So
And
another.
then I don't think there's, but sometimes it goes down the face and then staples and then there's welt and then there's more. So everywhere where the pattern breaks with a seam or a line or like when it changes direction,
Yep.
you have to account for that pattern repeat. So in this case, we're looking at 3 additional yards to 9 yards. That's 12 yards. And I got 7 yards.
And this style of fabric is called a running pattern, right? Because it goes the long way on,
Yes. And-
right?
Yeah, so this can't go,
This
this
is called
railroading, is that what you're talking about?
Railroading, yeah.
So this is not railroaded. This
This
fabric
is
can only go top to bottom.
top to bottom.
This way. It
Okay.
cannot go side to side because of the way that it stretches. So this can
Oh.
only go top to bottom because it only has give this way, and you need it to give when you go in that direction.
Gotcha.
But some
But that is a
fabrics-
consideration too.
That's a consideration too. When you're reading the stats on fabric, which you're not going to get if you buy used fabric, if you buy discount fabric, outlet fabric,
No.
if you order from just like not a fabric supplier, but like Joann Fabrics, Michaels, Hobby Lobby, everywhere where you can get fabric around you, they do have the stats on this. And what you're looking for is the size of your pattern repeat, the double rub count, which is going to tell you how durable your fabric is. The double rub count is whenever you rub they use this machine to test it that rubs the fabric twice, and it counts how many times it can rub it twice before it wears a hole through it.
Oh.
So your double rub count is important to tell you how durable it is. And on a high traffic piece of furniture, you don't want to use anything less than 20,000 double rubs. So pattern repeat, double rub count, and whether or not it can be railroaded. If you're working on a couch, you want the fabric to be able to be railroaded because the width of one of your panels is going to be the length of that couch, which is upwards of 90 to 100 inches sometimes. So you want to make sure that it can be long. So if you're working on a couch, if you don't want seams in the fabric on the front, you're looking for fabric that can be railroaded. This one is not ideal for anything.
This is a special cinch.
Special situation.
All right.
This is going to work on this chair, but it would not work for high traffic furniture at all. At all. Okay, so now we're back over here, and we're going to just attach this pattern with pins first, so we can make sure that it's fit right. And I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about how I made this pattern. So when I first made this pattern, I was very careful because I've only got 7 yards of this, even though that says I need 8 3/4. I don't, because we overestimated on the measurements for the purposes of this show. So I it was a rectangle first that I put on here.
Okay.
I pinned it in the middle on the bottom, and I pinned it in the middle on the top, and then I folded these in. Prior to this, I could see where the seams were supposed to go because the wood in the chair is there.
Okay.
So I have a good feel for where that is on here based on like what I can feel underneath here. So my wood frame runs right along this line, and it has to in this area because this material has to stretch in this curve to hold this shape to this. But this material will not stretch this wide and still cover these arms without there being a wrinkle. When I would go to cut them in here, it would go up this way and down that way, and all of this area would be bare. So one piece of fabric is not an ideal candidate for this. So you have to custom fit the fabric. So this was a rectangle that I folded this material in where the frame goes, like this, to make my pattern first, and I just set everything there. I just pinned it all in place and left it folded where it needed to be, and then start assembling everything else. So this doesn't need to be folded right now because I've already done a seam, so I'm not gonna fold it. But I do want to first line up. We'll talk about how I assembled the pattern and cut it as we go, and I can get scrap fabric to show you exactly what I mean. But for now, we just wanna pin it tight. It's all part of the process. So this, I want to pin here first, and the direction of my pins is important. I'm putting my pin in this way because I'm about to pull my fabric in this direction, and I don't want my pin to fall out. If I pinned it this way, when I pull that out...
Oh, so the head will hold it for you. Right. Gotcha.
So it's very important, and this fabric is not super self-healing, so I want to make sure I'm not stretching it in the wrong direction.
We're making unneeded holes.
Right. Make sure I give myself enough excess material on the back here so that if I make a mistake, I can move it up or down. I have some tolerance. This also I have tucked into the back already, and I am just going to tip this up so that I can line that center notch that I made with the center line that I made in the back. You guys aren't really going to see that line up in the front here, but you'll see it from the back camera, I think. I don't know if that was. Thanks. So as long as this is lined up in the center, then my pattern is going to be in the right place. So I just tucked it in there so it was a little bit taut, so that I'm working with as close to reality as possible. I want this to fit like it is upholstered without putting a single staple in it, because staple removal is the worst. What I do know is that these seams when they go through, they're edge to edge at the back of this pull-through spot. So that pull-through spot is right here. So the edges up at the top here are touching that.
They're on the outside?
That, yeah, they're on the very inside.
Inside of the, okay.
Yeah. So as long as those are both touching in the same spot on the bottom, I know that it's centered.
Gotcha.
So this, I can pull just a little bit tighter. I'm using my hands to push. Look at this cute ass cushion, first of all.
Did your kids make you one?
No, I found it at Share House, which is a really cool rummage
I
shop.
thought it was
thrift
from,
shop.
is it from a piece of furniture though?
I don't
The
think so.
fabric?
I mean, it could be.
I swear
It
it
feels
was
like
like
this.
sitting on something.
It feels like the same.
Oh, that's really cute.
Yeah, it's super, super cute. It was like $10 at a thrift shop. So it did belong to some little old lady once.
Somebody made what they needed.
So I'm pushing all the excess fabric into that, and then I'm pinning it at the bottom so that this area stays tight. This middle part is the most important part to fasten down before you do anything, because when you pull everything at the sides, it can pull up, and if it doesn't touch the material in the back, it's never going to touch the material in the back, and you'll feel that resistance every time you sit, and it feels gross. The next part that I want to do is
Quick
get
question,
it.
the pin in the back,
Uh-huh.
you did the exact same thing, so the pin's the opposite
Yes, so
direction.
the pin I put,
So the
if I
pin
put
head
it in
is away
this
from where
direction,
you're pulling.
right, if I put it in this direction, it's going to pull up.
Gotcha.
But if I put it in the opposite direction, it's going to hold itself there.
All right.
So everything's allowed to stretch.
I'm
So,
here to ask the questions.
so now I've got this connected in the center already.
Yeah.
Perfect. It's locking down that center. Now I want to like stretch out these sides. And these should land in the same spot on the back as each other. So you can see that's coming in right to this point. It's the same spot on the other side. That gives me confidence that I put them in the right spot. So when I put this in, I'm not just pulling up, but I'm stretching out this way. It's not imperative that you have this super tight right now, but it should be fitted because you're fitting this.
Right.
And if it's too loose, you're not going to get the right idea of whether it fits properly, and you're going to make your pattern wrong. So pin it all. You guys would be starting this off with a rectangular piece with the pieces folded in.
Gotcha.
I did mark the spots where those folds were, take it to the cutting table, measure the width of the bottom and measure the width from the top, and then I just measured from the center of that rectangle out to make those
Gotcha.
marks so that those were symmetrical, because this could still get twisted while you're working with it.
Yeah.
It could twist like it's fabric. It's very flexible, and it can twist in any direction. So if you can base this part of the pattern on measurements, by the time you get to the cutting table, it's going to fit more accurately and more symmetrically.
Mama Barb, you do want to take her course.
You definitely do. I teach these classes 4 days a week in person, but I also teach virtual lessons where you can work with me from your home on your project on any specific skill that you're looking to learn. So now I've got this kind of stretched out. This is fit about as good as it's going to fit being pinned to the front of it. But you'll notice it's hugging that curve.
Okay.
That's staying where it needs to do. If you guys had a rectangle right now, this would be folded at an angle down here, and this would be exactly where your folds would be. Oh, I do need to sew these real quick.
Oh.
I'm just going to run these through the sewing machine really quick.
Oh, that's just because of the brown thread?
Yeah, because of the dark thread. I
Gotcha.
just need to sew a little tighter to that thread.
Gotcha. Great time to take a break and tap, 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 tap. Tap your phone, like it. Because if you found Kim through for you, if you tap, other people will too. That's how it works.
Every person is capable of influencing at least 5 other people.
Ooh. It's like, I'm going to date myself again. It's like the commercial, and she told 2 friends, and she told 2 friends, and so on, and so on, and so on. And we just keep doubling down. I don't know if anybody wanted to see our
I don't know
measurement
if
system over
anybody
here.
is in here that is in the local upholstery club, but there is currently a post up for volunteers for the summer camp.
Oh, yeah.
So you get to come to the summer camp and volunteer for the day and earn free class time, hour for hour class time. Every day you volunteer, you earn 3 classes. There's a lot
Nice.
of classes.
Nice, nice.
But they're going very fast. You already got.
I'm on there.
So
I
it's
jumped on that.
It makes it, you're able to join and learn and do all the cool stuff for free. You don't get to sleep over, but you do get to hang out for the day. There's a lot of work involved for everybody, even the attendees.
Right.
But it's a lot of fun, and your meals are included if you volunteer.
Nice.
And that's chef prepared meals by Allison Anastasio. So it's Anastasio, actually. I asked her. I'm like, is it Anastasio? And she's like, no, it's Anastasio. I'm like, you should make it Anastasio.
I've
So
been
I can
saying
say
it wrong.
So I can say Anastasio.
Anastasio. If you say it with an Italian accent, it is.
Yeah. That's what I said. She's a tremendous chef, and she owns the Newton of Ypsilanti.
Yeah, the B&B is beautiful. If you haven't been there, do you have any spots left for
They have
attendees?
3 spots left.
3 attendee
for
spots.
people to attend. So it's a
Don't delay.
A 5-day, 4 nights, all-inclusive stay at the Newton of Ypsilanti. You get to stay there, and all of your meals are included. All of your materials for your project are included, but you bring your own project. If you don't have a project, one will be supplied for you.
Gotcha.
And that's also included. You have access to my tools, but there's also a goodie bag that includes some pretty cool, important tools, if you don't have them already. And some other local swag, which was a lot of fun. Okay, I did it.
All right.
Okay.
Virginia says she can totally volunteer. Yes.
So find that post in the
Find the
local
post in-
upholstery
yep.
club, and you can click on it. It's just a product on my website, but it's free, so it doesn't cost.
You just add it to your cart and it'll show 0, and then
So here's what I do know is that I've already made these patterns to fit, and they're already sewn together. So I just have to get these to lay on the arm where I know that they need to get stapled.
gotcha.
They need to be able to come across here and wrap around this arm and staple this way. But I am going to show you guys what that looks like when you're just trying to build that yourself, which is what Lisa's hoping for.
Yes. This is the thing that I want to understand. So we're gonna.
So I'm just gonna take this piece of fabric. I'm gonna
So
show
just
you
scrap
guys
fabric
this.
for
Yeah,
right
this
now?
is just scrap fabric that a student left behind that we use for barrier fabrics, or we just try to reuse as much fabric as possible. This isn't going to fit my chair, so you know, but it is going to show you how to make a pattern. So I've got, I did my rectangular piece here, and I cut my polygon. I brought it back here. This, I can see where my seam allowance was before because I folded it. So I can fold that seam allowance back. And then I'm going to start to place these fabrics in a way that will go around this chair. So this isn't going to be long enough to go down here, but for the purposes of what it is that we're doing here today, we want, this can even come over a little bit further. It can overlap for now because we're going to remove any excess. I don't have enough of this material to tuck down there and show you how to make this.
Gotcha.
So ignore this for now and just think about this. So this material has to, first of all, the pattern has got to be straight on here. So you might find yourself moving it so that it goes on the furniture properly while you place it. It has to wrap around this arm. It has to go down this side, and then this part of the arm has to attach to it.
So this is the arm she's talking about. It's a rolled arm.
So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to like fold this fabric down so it hits that arm where I want it to.
Okay.
Might have to go a little bit lower so it hits
the
that
line.
arm. And I'm just going to pin it in a couple places right now. This is like, this is just me
This
like
is just
draping the fabric
plain.
around to
Yep,
see if I can
yep,
get
yep.
it to fit on there. So this will actually come this way. This we're going to pretend goes all the way down. It doesn't, but we're going to think about it like it does. And we want to try and make these panels as we pin them look as close
like
to being
what-
upholstered
just
as
like you did on the
possible.
back.
Just like we did on the back. So from where I pinned it there on the side, I also want to bring it up on this arm, and it's gonna get pinned in here. Does the same thing, it's gonna come up from here and wrap around this arm, so I'm gonna put a pin up here. Now it does need, this should like continue all the way around this side. But it doesn't, because we don't have that ability here. But this should continue all the way around. I do see that this can be lifted. This wrinkle here, you got to test this. Does this pull out when I pull this?
Gotcha.
Will that straighten? Yes, it will. And I just need this to come over to the other side enough to staple to the back. So I'm leaving that area folded because that's where it gives. Like, that's where the fabric is like, fuck you, I'm not doing that shape. I'm going to do.
That is not my shape.
I'm
not
going to
doing
do what I want. So you fit everything into place. And I already have my 1/2 inch cut here. So from here, I would just take and cut that down with the 1/2 inch once this is all into place. And for here, I would leave that folded. So when I want to try and do this top wing part, I'm doing the same thing, resting it on there, folding this up next to that fold.
So it butts up to it?
So it butts up to it. It's actually going to overlap it by at least a 1/2 inch, because that's your 1/2 inch seam allowance. For now, we can just butt up to it. And then this has to wrap around here, but to get around this weird curve,
They have to be cut.
I have to make a relief cut. So I want to be real careful. I'm coming for this ditch right here. My fabric has, when I go to bend it here, like this way, you can see where it fails, where it starts to buckle. So it needs to be relieved so that it can go there. It's butt up to here. I don't want to cut it too long, so I'm going to stay within, I'm going to leave at least a 1/2 inch or more in that area.
Gotcha.
So that this can come around this way. And I just need to keep making a relief cut like that
To let it keep making that
to
turn.
let it keep making that turn
Okay.
and follow it around. And then we keep pinning it in place. We're going to continue to pin this in place, stretch it out, and then from this fold, we just need a 1/2 inch of this. So you can measure from the fold and cut all that off, or you can overlap it. And what I did was I traced this 1/2 inch line with a protractor, or trace this fold with the protractor with the pen on the other side, and it made a 1/2 inch mark. So I just was able to cut that pen right off of there. So that's how I did the pattern that I'm about to place on here today. But we unstitched it, and I can't remember what part of the pattern it fell on to attach it. So we have to do the whole pin thing all over again.
Oh, gotcha.
So this is inside out, this side. So this needs to be tall enough. If I remember right, I do think that they do line up at the top too. But you can't trust it. You can't trust that that is true. But we're going to start there
And then adjust.
and make adjustments as we go. So I'm just laying this flat. Hi there. So I do know that that can't be right because there's
it's
not
too
enough
short.
material down there.
Let's
Do you
look
need
down
any help?
Yeah, where's the front desk here for some training?
Yeah. What are you training on?
The bandsaw.
John?
All right, I'm going to step in for just a second.
So Kim is helping somebody out who came in to use some of the other equipment here at MakerWorks. So if you have a space like that near you, it's an amazing resource and just something that you definitely want to check into. It's like a gym membership. So you have a membership here, and then you get to come and use tools
Yeah.
and equipment and all that kind of stuff.
Gym membership for tools. So I can tell this is not in the right place for a lot of reasons. One, it doesn't
Not
land
in
in the
the
right
ditch.
place here. There's not enough material here. There's not enough material there. So now I need to know, well, how much material do I need to have to tuck it through there? I can always sew pull through fabric too if that ends up not being long enough. But I've done this already. In theory,
It's already been on.
it's already been on. So I do need this rope to go here.
Go
You
on the
can
right.
see where the curves of that, for this piece of fabric on here, this is cut on a curve
To go around that arm.
to go around the arm.
Yeah.
It's curved on both sides, but both in a different way because they go around the arm in a different way.
Right.
So you can't just trust one piece. So I'm putting that in the armpit where I know it needs to go, touching it to the back where I know it needs to stay. I might even pin it so it doesn't move. I know I need to pull it in this direction, so I'm going to pin it there. And it does come up like right to that 1/2 inch mark.
Nice.
So that tells me I'm doing something
Doing
right.
good.
This is the point of connectivity here that is most important on my pattern, where it connects to this. So before we leave, you can see I like have a little M there. That's where it meets. That's why.
Oh, M for meats.
Yeah, and so I did have notches cut in the same spot on both sides, so that it would land in the same spot on both sides. So I'm only going to fit this side. Then I'm going to make the mark on this, fold this in half and make the mark in the same spot on the other side and just attach the other one. When I sew this, I'm going to sew from this point down and then from this point up so that it doesn't move. Just like we do in a box cushion, we start in the center and work our way out. If I sew from here to there, it's not going to shift on me. But if I were to start up here with it pinned together,
down.
it's going to scooch down.
Yep.
It's going to be lower than I wanted. And that's going to just be ill-fitting for what I'm doing. So I've got these two pieces I can now pin together. This is where I believe wholeheartedly that they will meet. I can...
Upholstery involves a little bit of faith.
It sure does. It sure does. It's people will tell you it's a feeling. It's hard to describe. It's a feeling. You have to base it off of how it feels. There is a math to it, but we don't bother learning math.
It's like driving a stick shift. You know when it's time to shift
You hear it.
because you can hear it and feel it.
I had a stick shift.
I had a stick shift for a very long time.
So our welt is going to go in here too, but this is just for the purposes of being able to fit this to the chair. I want to clip it in. So now you can see with this part attached, when I pull this, it stretches this side out and I will be able to hit that shape even harder
Once
when I
you
get
have it all
everything
one
in.
piece.
Yep. So I just want, before we go too far, I just want to make sure that it fits everything. See these leaves? I know. So it's not
job.
supposed to line up there, but it makes sense.
Miracles also happen in upholstery.
I have done a 360 match on 2 matching chairs before. That was like
That's crazy.
yeah, that was the epitome of my career right there. That's a talented thing to do, and I don't want you to forget it. So this also has to straighten out when we pull down the arm. So this, all of these need to be clamped together. Is all this making sense? Or am I speaking my own language?
To me,
Yeah,
Yes.
to you. Is it making sense to you guys? I try to
Yeah.
be as simple as, like, I try not to speak upholstery language because you guys don't live in that world and it doesn't make sense to you.
I'm gonna bring.
But you can see, I feel
TikTok.
so much better that I did this because this did not fit this nicely.
No, no,
When I
good,
did it.
good.
So I'm really glad that I undid everything that I did prior to today and redid it all over again. So I'm stretching this out now until I get a nice smooth look on all of my panels.
We're gonna come over here so you guys
How's
can
it
see
look
what
from
she's
the camera?
doing.
Does
It
look
looks
like it's
beautiful.
fitting?
Yep, it looks nice.
And then this piece here is going to pull, it's going to straighten out this area. If it doesn't, we're in trouble. And then you can pull here to straighten out that area.
So, like this right here, is that gonna come when you pull it down?
Yeah, when this pulls here,
In?
all
Okay.
of that, like similar to this here,
Yeah.
this staple is going to be
gonna pull all
responsible
that
for
stuff
pulling
in.
all that into
Gotcha.
the center. So this needs to get pulled over and out. And see how this starts to wrinkle here?
Oh, okay.
This needs to pull out when I pull everything this way.
Gotcha.
And that goes all the way down the arm. Look at that!
Virginia wants to know if you can use paper.
Yes, the paper tears
But
and it doesn't fit like
It-
fabric.
Yeah, it's
I do suggest using scrap fabrics to make your patterns, but the material should be very similar to the material that you're using because the stretch of it is going to be the most important part. See how that's fitting now?
oh, we're only at 7,000 and we're almost halfway. It's noon.
Oh, you guys
We gotta
gotta
take that on.
You gotta pick it up a notch.
Pick it up, tap, tap, tap.
This looks good to me.
Make your own little
So
party
to get this
of hearts.
smoothed out here And this will be the same when we do this with Steagles, you guys. We're doing this like palm smoothing motion to get everything stretched in place. As we get up into that corner, you'll be able to pull.
And I've learned that the palm smoothing method is really way more effective than grabbing the edge of the fabric and pulling hard, because you end up with puckers.
And yeah, you stretch it too
You
much.
stretch the fabric too
I
much.
also, when I'm pulling fabric, instead of pulling with my fingers, and I started teaching my students this because I didn't realize I was
Grab
doing
it
it.
from the side.
You're grabbing it with the widest
The
part
palm.
of your palm. You're grabbing as much material with the widest part of your palm so that your pull is spread out and
So it's
more
not just
evenly
a-
stretched out. So you're not pulling one row of
One-
fibers down.
Yes.
You're stretching it out flatly. I'm happy with this fit.
That looks amazing.
This looks incredible. I'm so much happier with this than I was
Good.
with the last way it fit. So now I just need to remember where these two things connect. And I am going to
Can we
mark
mark
that.
them with a pen?
Yeah, but I have to mark it with not a dark color because this is kind of a see-through
Right,
deal.
right.
So I'm going to mark, I know it attaches here where the stitch is, but I need these 2 points of reference to line up. And I need the same point of reference on the other side. So now that I have this fit, now we can sew these together with the welt, and then we can start putting them on the chair. And so hopefully we will get this back completed on the chair today.
So you don't have to
Maybe
do the
even
other
a seat
side?
back. Nope, because it's symmetrical. I've cut all my pieces
Look at
identical.
you.
So I don't need the other side, but I do need this mark over here.
To move over there.
So that,
Gotcha.
because I already have this mark on the other piece.
On the other piece. All right.
But I need,
So we're moving to the sewing machine?
yeah, another thing to keep in mind is these lines also have to be straight. See how this goes?
Yeah.
It will be straight when I pull it in. As long as I can get this smoothed out over there, I know it's going to be straight. But that line has to be straight down. It can't curve.
All right.
Or, I mean, it can, but it shouldn't.
We're going to make our way to the sewing machine while she's unclipping.
That's a good idea.
So let's
So
go over
prepared.
Then I'll come pick up the tip deck. See if anybody else has any questions.
So I'm going to leave that pin in the middle because I got to get the...
Mona, you are correct. It is very stunning. Beautiful work.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And
It was
yes.
something I was very scared of until very recently.
Let's see, Sativa, I think it is. There is a loose seat cushion. I'm gonna swing around here and show it to you. That's the old one.
This is the old one.
Isn't that beautiful? I think we should just throw it back in. It'll match fine.
It's down feathers, and she wants down feathers.
It's down feathers. Well, that's gonna be so cool.
So we're ready.
All right, so
Over
let's come over
here.
here.
Let's get this. Let's get,
Which way are you
who do
going?
I have over here? Instagram?
You have Instagram.
What are we doing on battery life?
Oh, solid question. We're at 38 over here.
We're at 44 here. We're still good. I think we'll probably make it through the day. So
Okay,
it is.
so hold on.
What is it, noon?
Big shout out. Mona, yes, Kim is amazing. She's fabulous. She's wonderful. Those are all words that she used. I'm just repeating.
Oh, that's really nice. Thank you, Mona.
Mona, yes.
Okay, so I need to sew these together, but I have to also get this welt in between them.
So I'm going to
Yeah.
come in close on there so you guys can see what she's doing here on
And
TikTok.
I am going to sew the welt in at the same time.
At the same
All
time.
3 layers at the same time.
Bravery.
Well, I have a welting foot. And it's
You
actually
do have
with
a
this
welting
thin
foot,
fabric.
and it's
way
probably
easier.
best to like not go through as many times, any
Yeah.
more extra times then.
With the thin fabric,
Mhm.
having thicker layers makes this part easier. I am lining this up where it will meet in the meet point
Same
to
because
make
you're
sure I
doing
have
from
enough.
center to the
Yeah.
end.
And then I'm just going to open up the meat point. So these are face to face right now. This looks a little disheveled the way I'm playing with it. I have to put on my glasses too. I'm new to eyeglasses, you guys, and I forget that I can't see.
Will this bother you if I
I've
bring this
messed
up a little
my
bit?
whole
Is
thing.
that okay?
That's great, yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to get the light a little bit out of the way of your work. Sorry, she keeps moving around. I'm like trying to keep track of her.
Sorry.
I'm just kidding. I get it.
Mobile.
It's like
situation.
you're like, okay, I need this in my lap so I can figure this out.
Oh, this is way longer than I need. Well, that's helpful. Oh, it needs to be as long as this guy. No.
Mona, you definitely can get these chairs just right. Kim just taught you how.
Yeah, you do have to practice.
I mean, it will
Your
take
first
practice.
one is not going to be just right, so don't be hard
Oh,
on yourself.
the camera person got a shout out. You're
Yay,
welcome.
That's Lisa. So Lisa owns Ramsey House, Ramsay.
AY like Gordon.
Like Gordon
Ramsey.
himself, no relation.
Nope.
And she started her business after taking a year of classes with me. So I'm just sandwiching that welt now in between these and getting all my edges lined up before I start, making sure my orange lines are still lined up because that's the most important part, that stays lined up.
And also, I want to say, I think a lot of people think to themselves, I can't do it. That's like too hard.
Because they don't know how.
Because they don't know how. And that's the only reason you think you can't is because you've not done it before. But when you have Kim to help you and to show you the way.
I would argue that you don't need me to show you the way. You can learn. There are resources out there.
Yes.
You just have to dedicate your time to doing it. If you have someone like me, then I'm helping you every step of the way.
Right.
So,
And you're gaining knowledge from her experience.
and yeah, you don't have to make all the
You don't
same
have to
expensive mistakes that I made.
Right.
So now I'm just sandwiching the 3 in here, getting all my edges lined up, and I have a welting foot. This is a magical tool. This has a groove in it that this rope rides through. So as long as I have that rope under that groove, my stitch line is going to be straight. Everything's going to line up perfect. So I am just lining up my first layer. I've got them all clamped in under there. And then putting my second layer on top. I'm going to move this a little bit further up where I have everything straight. And I'm not stretching anything because that will ruin everything. I just set it on top. Set it on top.
And also, you guys can double down and tap while you're watching.
Oh,
I
that's a
promise
great
it won't
idea.
distract you.
Yes.
Just put your finger in the corner and tap, 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 tap,
Tap
tap.
until I'm done sewing.
Tap until she's done sewing.
I've only got 2 straight lines to do, but I'm
That's
starting
it.
these in the middle where that meat point is.
Yes.
So that it doesn't move. So that meat
Center
point will stay
outward.
the same. Center out. That evenly distributes your fabric
Right.
as you sew. It's most helpful when you're doing box cushions because it helps keep your corners
For sure.
lined up. So if you struggle with box cushions, have I got some news for you?
That's right. You can do it.
So
There's
I need
some
to
hearts.
do a
Here they
back
come.
stitch, so that stays there. I'm sewing up tight up against my rope, even though I can't see it. My presser foot allows me to see that it can ride through that channel, but I am keeping my fingers on it so that I'm making sure it doesn't jump the trap. You do not have to pedal to the metal sew this.
No.
You do not have to hold
No,
the pedal
no.
down and make it go straight until the end of it because you lose control. If you watch me, you'll see that I'm just pumping the pedal
Yeah.
and doing a couple inches at a time, especially starting off because I'm nervous. And then I drop my needle back in my fabric to hold it in place. So if I lift my presser foot up,
Nothing moves around.
It doesn't fall out. And then I just replace that, and I am adjusting my fabric every couple inches to make sure that everything stays in control. Because people don't sew all these layers together at once because they're afraid that they can't control them. But I promise it's just as easy as doing 2
Yep.
or 1, even just the welt by itself. You just have to practice the control aspect. And that is going slow. Slow is pro.
Slow and steady wins the. Oh, slow is pro.
Someone told me slow is pro
I
last
love
week.
that.
Isn't that great? Who was it? It was probably Thomas.
Thomas. Yeah, that sounds like Thomas.
It was either Thomas or your husband.
My husband.
It was one of
Aw.
you two. He sounds like he would say stuff like that.
He does say stuff like that.
Okay, so that one's sewn. I do the back stitch at the bottom, but I have to go back to the middle where I started. Can you grab me some scissors, Lisa?
Scalpel.
Thank you. And go from the middle to the other side. Oh my gosh, I'm sharpening these scissors. So I'm just flipping it over, all 3 layers, starting back a little bit further back than I started last time. I also want this seam to go down. So when it's on the chair, it goes down flat like that, so that it doesn't stick up underneath anything. So I'm going to hold that down flat, and I'm going to guide it as it goes through the presser foot, because sometimes this presser foot will get stuck under there. So I have to help it so it doesn't. Because if it gets attached through here, through that middle guy, you're going to sew it to the presser foot.
Ooh, not good.
And that's harder to remove. Very important to remember that you're not pulling this fabric at all. If you pull it, you're going to stretch it, and it's going to go back. When it releases
It'll go
from the
back
machine,
to its
it'll go
space.
back,
Yep.
and it looks wrinkled and puckered. You don't want.
And you can't pull that out when you're stapling.
Correct. I'm so glad that I serged these. It is going through so much easier. This isn't stretching out at the edge, which can give even the look of it when it goes back on. It can make it look all wavy if
Right.
it's stretched out. And
She's
it's
still
just-
sewing.
Even just to set it down like this, because of the type of material it is, it stretches out. So we're trying to reduce the stretch
Yep.
and reinforce the edges so that they don't fray.
And the strength. Also, this is like a bold statement. I love that she picked this fabric.
Mhm.
That's the thing that I feel like everybody's always stuck with, brown and gray.
Mhm.
And I'm like, this gives you a really good opportunity to show some personality.
Yeah. If you're gonna reupholster your furniture,
Yeah, make it something you love, that you're gonna sit in it and like pet it and be
It's
like,
an
oh, I love this seat.
it's an investment,
Yeah,
and it's gonna be around for a while. So,
right?
I mean, ideally, it should be around for a while.
And also change your mindset from the throwaway mentality where we're like, oh, in 5 years, I'll just get new furniture. Make it something that you love, that you want to keep and sit on for 20 years because you love it so much.
Or learn how to reupholster your own furniture.
Or
it
do
whenever
your
the hell
own whenever you want. That's also a great option.
I'll teach ya.
That's what we're here for.
So this side's almost done. We just got the other side to go, which we just need to mirror this
So,
side.
are you just marking?
Yeah. So I'm gonna fold this in half. I should have done this before I started sewing, but I got very excited to sew. So I'm
It's
just
exciting to see it come together.
It is. I'm gonna fold this in half, aligned at the bottom. It just has to be aligned at one end or the
That's
other.
the bottom of the center panel.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then I'm just gonna fold it in half up to that meat point. I don't have the chalk on me. There's my
got the
orange.
chalk.
I don't need it.
You don't?
There's that orange line. I'm just gonna fold it at the orange line, and I'm gonna make a little snip. And I can see this, the old snip. I can see the old snip.
Nice.
So that is where my meat point is, and I know that that is the same place as this seam. So my
So now this is just
seam has to.
putting it all back together.
Yeah.
And where's your welt? Do you have your welt? Here it is.
Make sure that I have this. Okay. Yes, that is correct. So where's that little snippy
There you go.
here with my seam going down?
That's what you were talking
The
about,
arm,
down
yeah.
the arm. Okay. So it doesn't make a
Correct. And then I
lump.
start there.
Gotcha.
And so now when I put this on my chair,
Do
everything.
you,
Hey,
do you
John.
need the welt in there?
Got a vac in here?
I do need the welts in there. I don't have a vac in here, no.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Well, actually, I can. Oh, you're not bothering me, John.
No worries.
I'll try harder.
All right.
I'll try harder.
I'm here for it.
I'll try harder to bother you. That's what we're asking for. Well, let's see. My mom had wingback chairs with down cushions. She had slip covers made to change up the look.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great idea
That's a
too.
good idea, too.
And I feel like slip covers you could do very similarly to how you were just fitting all those pieces.
That's 100% how you make slip covers.
Yep, and then you just
So
sew them together and you bring them down so that they're long enough and make a nice edge.
you do have to have some knowledge of how it will pull on like a sock
Yes.
in order to sew it together. I'm just going to line this up here and hold it there for a minute while I get the other piece ready. This is the piece that I'm looking for. Okay. So there's my notch. That lines up with this seam.
With the seams downward.
Yep.
All the
So
different
everything's
things.
face to face.
All the things.
The welt is the exception. It's not face to face because there's
No
face on both
face.
sides.
Yep.
Okay, so I have that needle in the fabric that's holding it. So if I'm like, whoa, it's still in place. I don't have to worry about lifting that presser foot on accident. So laying these fabrics right on top of each other. I'll just start sewing. A back stitch there.
Hey, you Instagram crowd. If you've got any questions,
Hold
go
them in
ahead
the
and drop them in
comments.
there and we will address them.
Can you see viewers on Instagram? How
Oh,
many
remember I
viewers
said I
are?
couldn't figure out how to see
I
the
couldn't
viewers.
remember. Sorry, I don't
I
remember.
don't remember how to do that.
Well,
People keep saying they're joining, and there's some hearts. Love it. Thank
good.
you very much.
Love it. Let me know where you're from. Tell me where you're
Yeah,
watching
tell us where you're from.
We have people come to these classes from all over the United States, but mostly Ohio, Illinois, Indiana, the neighboring states.
Yeah.
Because there is no one who does this, who not just teaches it, but teaches in-person classes and virtual classes. I also teach weekend camp. There are a handful of people out there who do this, but probably not near you because there's only a handful of us.
Yep, just a few.
And we're scattered around the United States pretty fiercely.
Mid-Atlantic Coast, USA. Oh, Austin, Texas. Okay, so Mid-Atlantic,
I don't
where
know
are
what that
you?
means because we're called the East Coast?
We're the
Oh,
Midwest.
no, Midwest. And we're
Which
on the
doesn't make
east.
sense
Yeah,
either.
it doesn't make sense.
What state are you in? They're Sativa. But yeah, Austin, Texas. Maryland. Ooh, I love Maryland.
We just had someone from Maryland here.
We did. I met them
weeks
last
ago.
weekend.
The couple was
A husband-wife team. Yep. South coastal Texas. Nice.
Oh, I bet it's pretty there.
I bet it's warm down there. San Angelo.
Yeah, warm is a understatement of the year, I'm sure.
Yeah, right.
So I'm relying on my welt for my seam allowance because it rides in that channel, but this is a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and on my machine there's a little notch here,
Mhm.
and then this edge here is also a 1/2 inch. Sometimes I like to use this seam guide. I line
I love
it
the
up
seam guide.
and then ride
Slide
it through
it in
like
there,
this.
yeah.
It's not helpful when you have a welt because the welt gets in the way of everything, but when you don't have a welt, that seam guide is great, keeping everything straight. You want to make sure when you're sewing that none of your fabric is going to get bunched up and accidentally pass through your
Or
stitch.
or accidentally get folded over somehow
Yeah.
or whatever. Yep.
I'm going slow and steady. I've been doing
Slow
this
as
12
pro.
years and I still do this slow and steady so that I can get more accurate results, because if you go too
hi,
fast...
Sheebs on Instagram. She's from Seattle.
Ooh, I have friends in
Sweet.
Seattle. The Furniture Repair Bank in Seattle, where the business that started me teaching virtual classes again, because I did some private lessons with them and their students and
Oh,
taught them how
nice.
to do upholstery. It's a great organization. She said she started her organization after she started following me and was inspired to provide furniture for people who are just getting into new housing, refugees who are just
Oh.
coming into the country. And so her volunteers work on furniture for free for her. And she provides all this furniture to people in need. And so I taught
people
her
get to
and her-
learn.
Yeah, I taught her and her students some upholstery
Very cool.
tips so that they can do even more. I have a grant out. We'll find out about in June with House into Home, which is an organization out here in Ypsilanti that does the same thing for previously unhoused people who are getting into new housing. They redo like nice designer furniture. Like I'm telling you that there are
Probably better than my house.
no, I mean I'm like you should sell some of this furniture and give the money to the homeless because it is worth a lot of money.
Right.
And they just like to make sure that everybody has nice things when they get into their first house, and they put like home decor baskets together
Oh,
and
that's
everything. That and they have some collectible furniture that they are just giving away. It's very cool. They're a very cool organization. So I'm hoping if we get that grant, it'll pay for 50 hours of education for their volunteers.
Oh, nice.
And I can teach them how to do upholstery too. Because right now they don't, that's the only thing they don't offer. They do repairs and they might like paint or restain something, but nobody knows upholstery,
Gotcha.
which is the case all over the United States. Okay.
Oh,
So-
okay. Let's see. Micah Bay, thank you for the phonetic spelling. Coeur d'Alene. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Oh, wow.
I know, we're like all over the
I
place
have family
today.
in Idaho.
You
So
do?
look at that. Yeah, my brother lives in Idaho.
Nice.
In Boise.
All right, where are we going now?
Or Meridian, but it's like by Boise, I guess. I don't know anything about Idaho. So we're done. We're done. We're finished with the chair. It's finished.
It's all done. Can't you tell?
We're putting it on.
Whoa, that fabric just would look
So bright.
beautiful. I know, like you flipped it out on the thing, and I was
I
like,
will
oh,
say that the camera does make it
it's a little
way
more brilliant.
vibrant,
Yes.
but it is
Yes.
still very vibrant.
It's
very
beautiful
vibrant
fabric.
deal. So I want this to go high so we can get on top. And we're going to do the same thing here that we did before.
With the pinning?
With the pins.
Gotcha.
So only right side
Just
out
right side
this
out.
time. So I'm going to just place this on as centered as I possibly can make it. But I do have a mark. I have a mark in my fabric on this end and the bottom end. And I have a mark on my frame at the top and the bottom to help me
You are
keep
brave.
everything centered. Yeah, I shouldn't have done that. That was so dumb. That was really dumb. I'm not brave, Lisa. I'm a dum-dum.
Well, you're not a dum-dum, just for that moment.
A lot of moments. So I'm just centering this on the frame down here. I want to give myself a little bit of extra material.
So, Virginia, I have a few little bit of bad news. This fabric is discontinued, and it was
Can't get it
pretty much a miracle that she found it on eBay. So, yeah, I don't know do you know what the manufacturer of the fabric is, though?
It says it on the.
Does it say?
It says it on the salvage edge somewhere.
Somewhere
You
along
might
the
say
way.
it
I'll
on
go
the-
look over here.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's the client found this fabric and took a picture of herself with it in 2016 and hadn't been able to find it since. And I used her picture to reverse image search it on Google and find
So, it's
Find it on
Kaufman Fabrics.
PEF Kaufman probably.
Did it say Pia? Am I just blind? I didn't read it. It's right there in the middle.
P Kaufman.
P. Kaufman.
Yeah, P Kaufman.
P as in Paul. Kaufman.
It's also got a soil and stain repellent
It
on
does
it.
have soil and stain repellent.
So right now I'm just kind of getting this stretched out.
Oh, see, we're not dum-dums. We just do dumb things sometimes. That's what
right.
somebody just said.
That's nice. I don't mind being a dum-dum. I'm turning my seam so that
It does look fabulous.
folds flat this way.
I'm going to try and
before I
come
lock
from this
anything
direction
down.
so you guys can see into the chair.
Lisa, I am going to need a hose and a staple here. Stapler soon. I want to get my seam folded in the right direction before I lock it down. Which is, when you lift this up, the seam is going this way. So it'll stretch out smoother.
Come on now.
So first we pre-fit, and then we put staples in, and then we're gonna just put very few staples in. Look at my flower!
Good job.
I did it! So, that's a
That's
way better
awesome.
match, I think, than
Yeah.
it was before.
I didn't get to see the first round, but it's a good match.
Well, the middle of it was still there, so there was two middles. You could see that it was the same flower, but it wasn't perfectly lined up.
Where's all your staple guns?
There's one here.
I got this one.
There
This
might
is
be
a-
some in my toolbox down there. I have been lazy at the end of some classes and have just been
Fair.
throwing it in the toolbox so I can go home because my classes end at 9 o'clock at night.
There we go. I should have checked to see. Let me see how many staples you got in there before.
Okay, so center. The first thing you do before you put any staples in, we're dry fitting this pattern to the front. I've locked it in the center on the top, which I have a notch centered with the line of my chair. I'm now going to push this down the center of my chair. I'm eyeballing this center part because I have to lift my chair up to see to the back. I'm just going to tuck that for now, and I'm going to pin my center down at the bottom.
All right. Locked in.
I'm pushing with my hands all of the excess fabric into this little trench back here. Now I have tucked the center of this back, but I want you to avoid tucking any furniture actually back. You're just tucking it down. But I needed that part to go back for the purposes of what I'm doing. So my next stretch, I've got the center stretch. I've got this curve. This is such a difficult shape to upholster, especially if you're new. There's a lot of when we start to attach this with staples, there's going to be attaching some temporary staples, pulling them out. Attaching a staple with stretch, pulling it out. So there's a lot of touch and go. See, these leaves kind of line up here. These lined up better last time. This might be in a different spot. I'm not stressing about it yet.
Nope, it looks good.
I'm going to put everything in place. So I've got the center locked down, and that's locking in this curve so that it hits here. If I don't lock the center down and I pull this out, it's going to stretch away from the back of the chair and it'll never hit, which means you're going to probably rip your fabric, especially this fabric, when you sit down. So now I need it to stretch out this way with these guys. And I have these attached today, but I want to lock down first where this seam is, which is why the seam is there, so that it'll lock down. It's centered between here and the edge here where it curves. It's like almost in the center, so it locks down the curviest part of that curve.
Gotcha.
That's the purpose there.
Gotcha.
So I'm pulling this over to the side and stretching it over and kind of up a little bit. Gently for now. We can put everything in a tighter place when we get staples in there, but for now, that's how
Micah
we're doing it.
eBay, yes. No brand new blue jeans on this fabric.
No. And when I go from this side, I want to directly go right across it from it to the next side next, so that I'm stretching everything evenly. And then before I consider that that is the final resting place, I want to check and make sure that those are falling in the same place
spot,
on the
so
back.
it's centered.
So it's centered and so it's straight and not put on skewed. This is pulling, looks like the seam lines up right in that corner, and I remember that being the case last time. And then, sorry guys, sorry Instagram.
Sorry, Instagram. I'm going to come around really quick.
So this,
so you can see what she's doing here.
on this side, when I pull this down, this seam also lines up with this inside edge, and that's exactly where it's at on the other side.
Yep.
So I'm confident that I pulled it into the right place on top. So now I have to work with the bottom part of it and the arms. And this is like a kind of going back and forth, just like we did when we put the pattern on there, but to try and make sure we stretch it. So
weirdest thing you found.
I know where the arm needs to go. The weirdest thing I found?
They want to know the weirdest thing you found when you're opening up furniture.
A dead rat.
A dead rat. Woo!
That actually happened.
Can anybody beat that with something even ickier?
That happened during summer camp last year.
Last year, summer camp?
Or was it summer camp or was it spring break? It was probably spring break. It was one of the first ones. Oh no, it was.
Was it the Halloween one?
No, it was spring break, because Halloween one we tried to make as creepy as we could, and it wasn't very creepy.
It didn't work.
No, it was just not creepy.
You can't force those kind of things. It has to be organic.
So I have to be able to stretch this whole bit out at the bottom. And I've lost my center a little bit, so hopefully we didn't go too crazy. And you can see my welt is all kind of looking crazy right now because it's not stretched in straight lines. So that is also the goal, to stretch the welt to get into a straight line. So I did the top corners, I've done the center, I'm doing the bottom corners now, just to get them kind of tight. And then pull these arms, to pull everything this way. Let's get this pretty little. So I can already tell here this material is pulling away from the back of the chair, and that's because my pin came out at the bottom. So my center is no longer being held, which means everything at the bottom could have gotten skewed. But we won't know that till we set the chair up and we go to look at everything. So I'm going to stretch this over right into that ditch of the arm where I know it goes. So I've got bottom corners, top corners, center all pinned in. Now I need to get, just like we did when we did our pattern, I need to get this fabric all stretched out and straightened on it to make sure that it all falls into place. Same goes with the arm. This is going to pull this whole bit out this way. And I have been wondering in my dreams every effing night, because I can't stop thinking about this piece until it's done,
Yes.
if I'm going to need to hand stitch this somehow into
the batting.
yeah,
or
I don't know if we're going to need to do that yet, but we'll find out. So
Okay, I'm
this,
super curious about that. If
yeah.
that happens.
So this I can stretch. I'm stretching at the bottom here first so I can like pull everything down, and then I'll stretch from the top to pull everything up. You can see it's starting to work its way.
It's starting to take shape.
It is starting to take shape. So then these parts get pulled, and final like pulls that are going to pull everything into it permanently are going to be done when we do the staple. Right now I just need to know that I can drape this across and stretch it out to where it's going to be in place and keep it straight before I put anything serious.
Okay, is there a functional reason for putting welting in that?
And
In
this
that
here,
hang on, let me get back to where it was. In that seam.
this is, its purpose is for design, but it's also welt is stiff, so I'm sure it also helps it keep its
To
shape
support
right
it.
here.
Yep. And also the fabric wasn't wide enough to go all the way. And it's too
the pattern itself has to be cut in this way for it to fit the curve of this chair. It
Right.
won't go on in one piece. And sometimes the better way to do that and make it look decorative is to put well. If you ask me, this should have been like hot pink or this green color. Or this
Yes.
blue color.
Yes.
Or this pink color. Like one of these other
This is
colors.
something that-
and not this pattern, because I think that's distracting. But it looks lovely. I'm not gonna fuss
That's a
about it
design
too
choice.
much. That's a design choice. I did ask. I'm like, do you want a contrasting welt or do you want to be boring? And she was like, no.
Jamie, thanks for your support. Swanson Stephen.
So this feels like
Do you know Swanson Stephen?
Swanson.
Stephen Swanson.
Stephen Swanson. I'm not sure. I might.
They have called twice.
Oh no, I don't. But it showed up on the.
It was an incoming call.
They just called twice in a row.
Yes. That's the only reason I asked the second time.
I don't think I know Stephen Swanson. So all of this material is going to get straightened out and stretched when I. Look it this way.
Yes.
Does it look good?
Yes.
It's looking like it fits. If it calls again, we might have to answer. We can
Okay.
leave that Instagram up. I'm just worried it might be my kids.
Oh,
You
hang
call
on.
again? We're back. We're back. Sorry, guys. This is a kid's school.
Sorry, it was a kid thing.
We had to answer it. So now I want to pull.
That's why we do this, because then we have some flexibility with our
Yes.
work-life balance.
Right. My kids grew up in my shop. Well, that is gonna make. I think that's why it's fighting me. The
Oh, wait a minute. Who is this? Sativa, you are the rock star. She said, meanwhile, let's tap, 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 tap.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's so nice. Thank you.
Thank you so
Sativa.
much. Where are we at? I'm trying to look and see. Gosh, I have this up really high, and although I am 5'7", this is a tippy toe thing to be able to. Well, there's a glare on the thing. Oh, we're only at 9,000.
That's
We
not
need
even
some
that
help.
We really need a lot of help. We'd like to get to 25,000 before we leave here.
Yeah,
today.
if we can get to 25,000, that is
TikTok doesn't know I exist.
no. That's 5,000 a half hour. I think that can happen. So by 1 o'clock, we should be at 15K.
So, I'm almost there. I want to set this up in a minute so I can see what the lines are looking like. Because otherwise, I can't see.
It's hard when it's laying down. Yeah.
I
Hey,
can set
Molly.
this up and I'll turn it to you
Welcome to
so you
live.
don't have to move.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
The camera girl appreciates it.
Help.
Okay.
So I do need help, actually.
All right.
So let's just turn it. Right.
It's okay to have some help.
Yeah,
That's okay.
you definitely should.
All right. So let me
Oh,
get it
that
so
looks
you can
crazy.
see.
That looks insane. And that's why we do this part. So that we
Yes.
can see what's going on. So this left side looks great.
Yeah, the left side looks amazing.
This
The
side's
right side's a little
Still
wonky.
got some pulling to do. And it's this welt in particular. It's not locked down properly at the bottom. That's looking better.
That does look better.
And then
Pull toward the
pull
front.
toward the front.
Yep.
So this is exactly how I'm going to staple it first too. Staple, 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 staple. That's all the staples I'm going to put in until I have it in place. Then I can go back and start filling the gaps, but I can't put any staples in until I make my cuts. And that's the scariest part.
Cuts.
Scariest part is putting the staples in. So, almost there.
I think I hear the dogs.
Yeah.
They have a couple of dog mascots here. They're Basset Hounds.
It's a pet friendly place. You can bring
It-
your own dogs.
Oh, well, my dog would not be
Yeah,
allowed.
my
But
dogs wouldn't have been great in this environment.
No.
either. But if you have dogs that are good with people, good with other animals, then you can bring your dogs because they're pet friendly. They say as long as they're safe around people, you can bring them, and that applies to both people and pets.
okay, Sativa, you're the rock star, and I keep saying your name, but I want to make sure I'm saying it right.
Let me read it. It's will come around.
Sativa.
Sativa. Where is
She
it?
said, "Oh my God."
Oh yeah, sativa.
Sativa,
Yeah.
yes. I try really hard. I feel like it's
Oh.
important to pronounce people's names right.
Look now.
What's that doing?
See this
Yeah,
and this. That means,
it needs to turn a little counterclockwise.
or this is sewn on completely crooked. So it needs to be up, or down. Either that one needs to come down, and this one needs to go
Yeah,
up.
because they're not lined up from right to left. So this, my friends, is why
This is why we don't
you
see
test it out, especially when you're doing fabric that you got no other options. Let me know if you need hands. I feel like I'm just standing here looking at.
That has to pivot.
Gotcha.
You take everything that I put in at the top out.
Okay. Do you need the top corners of the wings too?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Oh yeah, actually, yes. All right. So now we got to decide which one of these is in the right place, because it's got to be able to that looks straighter, right?
That does look straighter. I think that one was up too high.
You might be right. We won't know
Because I feel like that one wasn't down in the ditch.
Yeah, it's got to be in the right spot to be able to cut it right. So, but it also has to be able to straighten out this way too. There's no cuts that can happen.
Thanks, Mona. This is a fabulous chair. Fabulous? What did I just say? Gosh, sometimes my mouth doesn't work very well.
So the center still has to be locked down so I don't go too far.
I had to take good video of the chair that I'm working on because it has the craziest, it's a wingback, but the arms are not the same as this. So you can see the front of this chair, the arm rolls over to the outside. On this one, the top of the arms are flat and the roll is down the front and then it rolls back towards the back. It's very interesting. So we're working on that. If you want to check it out, follow Ramsey House Upholstery. We're on everything. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram, Facebook.
This definitely fits around the arm better.
Yes,
So,
that's better.
again,
You
we
mean,
get less of a struggle there.
yep.
I love the way the patterns are lining up now.
I feel like that one needs to go out a little. The right one needs to go out to the outside a little more.
This side?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, up there I don't think it's been stretched at all. So right. Pull the center up again. Now we're very close to an edge here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So like running out of material in the
Oh, no.
back. So we're down pretty low. How's that pulling?
That looks good. That straightened the
So,
top half of it
Right,
out.
that I can feel that went straight, but I can't explain that to you.
You just got to do it.
Because I was pulling up
Yep, and out.
to the fullest extent that
When
I
you-
could get it.
Yep,
before
and when you
starts
did it, you saw it go whoop and straighten right up.
Now I could feel it straight up, but I couldn't see it. So I'm relying on your eyeballs.
Got you.
And then there's no excess fabric between this pin and this pin. So this is all going to lay down nice and flat.
Yep.
And everything up on that side. So let's see if I can blind do it again.
Yep, there you go.
Get it?
Yep.
I'm a professional.
You do know what you're doing.
Okay. So we got arms.
Yep.
We got tops.
It is hard with that pattern on the welt
Yeah.
to see straightness.
Yep. So now I want to do this bottom guy. And this bottom. Oh.
Sativa wants to paint the legs the dark green from the leaves.
That is a great idea.
It is a great idea. That would be
I wonder if
beautiful.
She would let me. I will ask her if she'll let me do that. I would do that with the brighter green in the details,
Oh.
like a wash of
Like a
brighter
wash of
green over
brighter
top.
green.
And they
Gotcha.
would look like leaves, like stems.
Yes, that would be very cool.
I also, that flower pillow that I made?
Yeah.
I'm going to make one for her for this, but I'm going to dye it so that it's this light pink in the center.
And then
And
goes
then
out into
goes out to the brighter
to
pink.
the
Yeah,
pretty.
So this lady's getting some special stuff.
She
didn't
is
know
getting-
about. Yeah, that looks great.
that looks amazing.
So I'm ready to start.
Stapling?
Well, first we gotta cut.
Oh,
Maybe I'm not ready for that. Oh, I need to sew the bottom up. So I'm going to continue to pin this until it's in exactly the right place. Because I'm going to need
You're
to
to
sew
sew
a
what?
hole on the bottom because these
oh, because there's
are
not enough
long
fabric.
enough.
Gotcha.
So I have to sew fabric to the base of this to give it like enough to pull
through.
And when you have just enough fabric, that's like the smartest way to go about doing this.
Good.
Because you can conserve fabric that can't be seen that's getting tucked in.
Good tip.
So
Are you using contrast for the deck?
Yeah, I got, well,
What do you have? Are you gonna use some of your green?
I got this. So this is gonna go under the cushion,
Okay.
but just the C part. I did get a green one, but it was way too bright of a green and it looked like fake. Here's the green one. And we're doing this also to conserve fabric. That's using a
Oh, yeah,
different
using
color
that, yes.
underneath the cushion because we can conserve fabric by replacing it with this.
Right.
But this whole part has got to be,
The pattern.
so I did get this one. But that's too,
Oh, I don't like
too
that.
bright. It's like not the same color.
No,
green.
it's not, it needs
looks
more
like a-
yellow in it.
Like toy fabric.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. It doesn't
No.
look right. So this one is a little toned down, but it's like a canvas. It's a heavy duty canvas.
It's
material.
canvas. I was gonna ask you what it is.
Yeah, it's not. I think it's outdoor fabric actually.
Also, you guys, if you want to make a cool design choice, Kim taught me this, you can find a fun fabric that you use to make your deck that coordinates with the rest of the fabric. But once you put the cushion on it, if somebody didn't want to see it, it's not going to be out there. But then you get a little surprise when you lift your cushion up and you're like, yes.
Surprise design factor that nobody thinks about. I used to.
Oh,
also
Virginia,
do
I'm glad we answered your question.
I used to
without
also do
knowing
with
it.
my dust cover.
Oh, yeah,
I
with the
made
dust
my
cover
dust
underneath.
and my husband was like, "Why do you do that? Nobody sees it." I'm like, "What are you talking about? It's the first thing people see when they load it
Yeah,
into
when you
their
pick
car."
your furniture up and it's laying on the
And
back.
they flip it upside down.
Yeah.
That's another surprise too. Surprise and delights. The clients love a surprise and delight. Okay, this is looking good. Who can tweet? Where's my? You guys see this pin cushion? First of all,
Very cute.
I am going to cut the length of this back because it's much longer to the same length as those sides before I put the pull through on there. And you guys are going to lose your mind when I show you how the pull through is going to be. So this got to get straightened up again. Is it straight?
There you go.
Is it straight now?
Yes, it brought the side to side welt up so that it's
Even?
even. Yeah, it looks even to me.
Yeah. And then this will come down. Staples are going to be the only thing that hold this strong enough to hold it in place.
Right.
Unfortunately. So once we get that, and that's why we have to lock it down specifically in these areas in the same place because the staples are going to hold that while we stretch everything.
Stretch everything else.
That's looking good. That's looking good. I can tell that it is slightly skewed because this is longer here.
It has more
and
fabric.
These are exactly the same size, so I know.
Yeah, now it looks like the left one's up a little higher.
Yeah, I just pulled the thing on accident. So that'll hold it.
Sativa said that the people who don't like the decorative underneath things are the ones who don't paint the underside of their bookshelves.
So my cuts aren't actually even going to go in this material.
No, it'll be
They're
in
gonna
your.
go in the other material.
So we need to first put it on.
So I need
The
to
extra.
sew it again. We need to take it all off and
Woo!
sew it
Again.
again.
Nice.
And the reason for that is we want it to be perfect before we put it on. But it does fit perfectly.
It does fit beautifully.
Everything looks great. I'm very excited about the fit. This will pull through. Great. So I don't have to make any cuts, so I can take it off, put the thing back on, and then we can do this all over again.
Nice. We're at 12:45. We need at least 2,000 more likes over here on TikTok.
Oh, okay.
So
Well,
make
I
sure you guys
can-
are all over that while we're in the moving process because we're gonna have to move back to the sewing machine again.
And I do have, I gotta pick up my kids at 3. I could probably go over 2 if we needed to, just to get the staples in, so we know we got it done.
Gotcha.
But,
That's it. Thank you.
2 o'clock is kind of when we plan.
2
to
o'clock is kind of the
So, I think I have all the things
back
out.
in the bottom at the welt in each corner. There you go.
Just be careful because I want
Don't
that
snag the
to-
fabric.
So here.
This makes me think of how you tell people that as you put on the the support, right? So the, what's the word? I can't think of the word, Kim.
Barrier fabric?
Yeah, the barrier fabric. And then you put on your foam, and then you put on your batting. Like, it's just doing the exact same thing over and over again. So you're
Yeah.
getting better at it as you go.
Yeah.
You make
So
it,
now I need to trim the excess fabric off the long part of this pattern, which is the center, which you can see. Happy to see that these line up in the same place. So I'm just going to trim across here. Then I need to attach a piece of fabric to the bottom of this, but I'm going to do something crazy that you guys probably have never thought about, that I've only encountered a couple of times. This doesn't have to be like, I don't have to run a ruler across this to make sure it's perfect because all of this goes inside, but I'm going to try and get it as straight as I can.
There you go.
I'm just going from this side to this side, and I need a strip of material that's long enough to pull through. I'm gonna give myself like 10 inches, like
Okay.
a 10-inch skirt on the bottom of this, sew it to the bottom and take it to the thing. So I will measure the width of this, the longest part. I'm gonna fold it in half so I don't have to work as hard. And then we'll need a Sharpie.
I was gonna grab that for you in a second. There's that. Do I get my assistant badge
Yes.
today?
You get all the gold stars.
I get the gold stars? Woo!
Okay.
I want all the hearts.
So I just need a 10-inch rectangle off of the bottom of this. I'm gonna use my trusty Sharpie because that's the responsible tool in this situation.
Yes, it is.
So I kind of measured 10 inches up on this side with my ruler aligned to this straight edge. If I measure it 10 inches from here and my ruler is tilted in any way, it skews and compounds that measurement. It makes it inaccurate. When I say 10 inches,
Yes.
10 inches on this edge and the same on this edge. And then I can take those two dots, line them up, connect them, and make a line. And now I can cut this off. Now I want to sew this material to the back of my my back panel. I need to center it first because I always sew from the center out. This is longer material than I need, but I'm going to pleat it, fold it to make it the same length as that back. When you have a curved back like that, sometimes you put too much pressure on the back panel of fabric to get it to fit that curve, and you can make a wrong cut and it'll just split right up the sides.
Oh no.
So putting a pleated skirt on the bottom of that allows the fabric to pull in all directions because there's more fabric than you need
Gotcha.
to get that curve tighter to the chair without risking the fabric.
Got
So I'll explain that as we go. I
Nice.
did this with another student before. I'm just gonna mark the centers of this with a little notch on the top and bottom because I need to center it on the top and bottom of the back of my chair.
Oh yeah, because you need the center because that's what's gonna come to the center
Right.
of the chair.
Now these pleats don't have to be perfect. They just need to be pleated so that it can like curve.
Yeah.
I want to be kind of thoughtful about where it lands on my pattern. And I'll talk about that as we get to that part. I do need my
Pins or
giant
clips?
pin cushion.
Giant pin cushion.
I'm marking the center of the back panel here with that little notch so that I can line up these two notches and pin them together. Now if I pin them in this direction, I can sew right over them. If I pin them in this direction, I'm gonna have to take the pins out
Gotcha.
when I go. So I'm just gonna keep them in so I can sew right
That's
over.
right.
And
So
then,
you can sew over with the,
right, I'm going to take this all the way to this seam. And that's kind of where I'm gonna put my first pleat because that's almost the exact area where I have to make that cut. So it's gonna give me some extra material in that cut. So I'm just folding it. I think I've used about 1.5 inches fold there. Just folding it in on itself. That's kind of an arbitrary measurement for this. You could really measure it out and make it perfect if you wanted. I just need, at the end of the day, this whole length of fabric to fit this length. And right now, currently, I have way more than I need.
Right.
Can you see that?
Yes.
So now I'm going to take it down this side. I'm going to go about the same distance and make
To make the next pleat.
well, actually, so I've only got enough material for one more pleat.
Yeah, you do.
So I'm gonna line up this end first.
And you've left that selvage on there because of the.
Because it's
not
pull,
gonna
it's
show.
just pull fabric that I
Yeah.
can hold on to.
Yeah.
You can't use the salvage edge of the fabric as part of your measurement.
No, you cannot.
But you can, I need to put this part. But you can use it when you know all you're gonna be doing is holding onto it and cutting it off later. So I have a little bit of slack on this fabric than I do on this fabric. So I'm gonna center, like, split the difference between that fold and the end of the fabric so I can make this other fold so that this fabric fits tight.
Sorry, that was a dramatic zoom.
Perfect. Okay, now we're gonna do the same thing to the other side. We want that fold to be in the same place here. We're gonna get a little bit extra material where that seam is, because that is where the cut is gonna have to happen. Pin this end first, and then we just need this to be tight in between these two spots, sort of centered in between. So that I can sew all these together. This might not make perfect sense to you right now. This
I
is
understand
only
what
like
you're
the
doing.
third time I've ever done
Well,
it in 12 years.
That's awesome.
But it will make sense to you the more and more you practice it, and you're liable to see me doing this a lot more because we record these every Tuesday. So
That's right.
you'll get to see a lot of different types of skills over and over and over again, and you have to see them and experience them over and over and over again to get good at them. So now I'm ready to sew this. We're gonna go back to the sewing machine. I'll take Instagram if you take TikTok.
Alrighty. And a few more likes there. Thank you very much. We've got almost to our 15K for this half hour. Of course, if you have extra, no one will turn them down. But
Now this
let's make
time,
sure we make our
I'm not
goal.
gonna bother sewing from the center out because it's a little arbitrary. It's just gotta go along the bottom. So we're gonna start on one side and work all the way to the other. I am gonna use my seam allowance guide this time. It's magnetic. That's gonna help me make sure I keep a straight, consistent seam. And I'm just gonna line these pieces up under my sewing machine. Using that seam guide as a way to keep a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Do a little back stitch. And then go all the way through. I am gonna take my pins out as I go because I can't feed them through the seam guide. And still
Oh,
be
there you go.
accurate. Gotta so they don't come undone. I'm also supporting the weight of this fabric
Yeah, do you need help
on
with
this
that?
side, maybe because it's very slippery also. Because the weight of the fabric can pull, as you just saw, it can pull the fabric in this direction and make that stitch crooked. We don't
I
want
hope I'm
that.
not blocking
I don't,
Instagram people.
oh, I don't think you are. I can see this whole area.
Gotcha.
So your head's not covered. You're not that tall.
Check out the back of my braids.
You're taller than me, but
I'm not quite that.
and I just want to double check and make sure that fabrics aren't getting all
Everything's smooth.
folded under there, because that's my worst fear. Every time I stop sewing, I make sure my needle is down in the fabric so I don't lose my stitch. Here. Just want to make sure my edges are together. And I'm still not pedal to the metal, just sewing this because after 12 years, I still don't have that kind of control. I don't make the same things over and over and over again, so I don't have the speed of someone who's done mass production. Neither do you. So you shouldn't do it either.
Right.
Because it will make you cry later if you do.
That is always taking a fold under there, so it's a little bit of a trick. We're loving all you guys here on Instagram. If you've got any questions about this project, about low-co, about upholstery,
Summer camp.
summer camp, classes, you can take them here in person in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is Metro Detroit. It's about 20 minutes from Detroit, but
Did you say
also,
20 minutes from Detroit?
oh, I'm sorry,
40
my
minutes.
house is 20 minutes from Detroit. It's like 40 minutes from Detroit,
Hell yeah.
but it's okay, because the airport's really close.
Everywhere
to here.
within 2 hours, the Detroit claims to be in Metro Detroit.
Well, you know,
We're tough.
we
We're
lost the
tough.
scissors again.
Drinking game. Whenever we lose the scissors, no, don't do that. You will die of alcohol poisoning.
That's right, don't do that.
Okay. So now I have my skirt. Now we can do this for real.
All right.
Maybe. Hopefully. Hopefully I don't cry. I will say that staples are more effective at holding this than pins. So
Yeah,
I'm pretty
that
excited
is-
to do that.
Staples are,
But don't be afraid to use staples as pins.
oh my gosh, I'm fighting with this tripod.
Being comfortable with removing staples is what this is going to be all about.
Right. Temporary staples are a thing. They are a tool.
So this we might have to bring on the floor for them because this is way too tall for me. Do you want to help me when we pull
Sure.
this and put it right here, and I'm going to kick these out of the way?
All right. Then I'll be back in a second, TikTok, and answer your questions.
See you, TikTok. Bye.
Bye. All right, so
I'm really glad that the school that calls over and over and over like that.
that was nice.
They texted because my voicemail says I'm not going to answer.
You're not going to answer the phone.
Or the voicemail.
Does your console have a servo motor?
Yes.
Yes.
It's much quieter and
then-
makes it easier to run.
If you could choose from second-hand sewing machine from Kanso to the other Japanese machine, would you have a preference?
I've not ever used one, so I don't know. The Juki? Is that
A
what
Juki, maybe?
they're talking about?
I don't know.
The only industrial sewing machine I've ever had the pleasure of using is my own in the one here at the shop, which is also a Kanso industrial machine. So, I think an industrial machine is going to impress you more than a domestic machine. So no matter which one you use, you're going to be like, holy shit, I need one of these.
Oh yeah, you definitely are gonna want an industrial machine the first time you get the opportunity to use one. I wish I had one.
So now, I'm trying to center as best I can. We all know we're going to end up having to move it, but center first so that I can start getting this stretched out the way we had it before. Now we've got our extra fabric. It's our pull fabric. And I'm just pulling it in those key places to get it to stretch out.
Nice, we're at 16,000. That's perfect.
I think that's gonna make me do my seam to the inside, actually. So let's do it. So I've got my center marked, or my center pinned down, so it holds the material to the inside of this curve. Now I'm stretching from these seams out from the center to get rid of the excess fabric between here and here and to stretch the distance of this. I want it to fall in the same place on both sides. I don't know if I've done that successfully yet. So here on this side, Seam lines up at that same line. I'm encouraged by this.
Yes.
Consistency 3 times around.
So when you say that same line, here, I'm gonna come around for
Yeah,
just
let me
a
show.
second.
TikTok can see.
TikTok can see.
So this line on the frame,
Hang on, Instagram.
the seam on the frame,
Yes.
lines up with this stitch on my seam. And that is because I very intentionally created a seam that's going to follow this all
On
the
the
way
front
down
side.
the front, on the front side.
That's what the welts.
Yeah, that's so the welt
line the welt's
is supposed to land there. So I'm encouraged. That's where it's supposed to go.
It did what it was supposed to do.
Yes.
Nice.
So now
Now we'll come back to the front.
we'll come back to the front and we'll get maybe this corner first. This is definitely going to have to get moved, but it holds this line in place
Right.
while I come down here. Pin this in place. I just want to make sure that it's going to come around that corner. This side. Oh, jeez, oh, Pete, that's too far, isn't it? How are my lines looking here?
Let me square up from here. I think the left one, the horizontal line on the left is, there you go.
That looking good?
That looks better. Still looks like that one's a little higher than the right one.
It goes back up whenever I let that down. So this still has to get stretched there. Does it still look higher?
Let me, yes,
This looks higher?
yes.
Okay. I know they both need to come down. Neither of them are in the right place.
Okay.
So that means the top's gotta go.
Down.
Yeah. And so for this part, we'll focus on.
Do you want me to pin behind?
No, I'm gonna pull them down into the right place.
Okay.
first. You need to fall right in that little
In that-
ditch.
Yeah. That one, the left one just doesn't seem to want to do that.
Well, every
There.
time I pull one side, it pulls the
Yeah,
other.
it pulls the
side
other,
out.
yep.
Let's try that. Oh yeah, remember.
Oh, we're short on
It's just enough up
just
here.
enough fabric up there, yeah.
But that's okay.
Just enough is all you need.
That's all we need.
It's good.
I know it's fine. I haven't cut anything yet. I mean, I cut the pattern. Those all fit though. We've established that.
Right. When you haven't made any relief cuts yet,
This
so.
is the imposter syndrome, you guys. Coming in waves.
I need to check. All right. I think I might need a,
Still getting a match.
how hot is it in August typically in Ann Arbor? I don't know.
So summers here rarely get into the 90s.
No.
Until like the past couple of years.
Yeah, in
That's
July,
pretty
but
much
that's like the end of July usually. August
It
depends.
starts to get
Oh,
cooler. No, I
Your
think
phone.